Well, good morning to you. There's a lot going on in the world, and we're really grateful to have you here. I want to start with a speech that you gave last week in The Hague. You called for leaders to, quote, reject a future ruled by coercion and violence. What are the risks of a world where power replaces cooperation?
Well, imagine a country, and imagine that in that country laws do not matter. What is the result? Is chaos. The same applies to the world. If international law is disrespected, if countries do not care about the norms they have themselves established, the result is the kind of chaos we are witnessing in so many parts of the world. So it is absolutely essential that the primacy of law is reestablished. And it is essential that all countries accept that international cooperation must prevail over competition and that law must prevail over the use of force.
So that's applause-worthy. One of the, obviously, the biggest issues of the day is the war in Iran. And I'm curious about the UN's role. In the 1960s, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the UN played a pivotal role helping bridge the divide between the US and the USSR. Obviously, the US and Israel are on one side and Iran on the other side in the conflict today. What is the UN's role, and your role more specifically, in helping bridge that divide and coming to some sort of conclusion?
Well, we have been very active. Of course, we are aware of the realities of today's world and how power is distributed in today's world. I appointed a special envoy that has been visiting all the countries involved. We have presented a project taking into account that the Strait of Hormuz is closed and that we are having a dramatic problem beyond the oil and gas with fertilizers. We presented something inspired in the Black Sea Clan initiative for the possibility of fertilizer products to be able to circulate. But our main appeal at the present moment is very simple. An appeal to the US and an appeal to Iran. Let the Strait of Hormuz be open and be open for everybody. Because the fact that both sides are closing it one way or another, they might be doing some harm to each other, but they are doing much more harm to the whole world. Everybody is paying a price, countries and families, and of course the countries and the families that are more vulnerable are paying the highest price. And then things are so absurd that, look at the US, where we are. There is nothing that changed in the production and refining and distribution of gas. So theoretically, the price of gas should not have changed. But we are going to a gas station and we pay the double than what we paid before the war. So markets are organized in such a way that everybody, everywhere, even if they are totally far away from what's happening, is paying a heavy price. Yeah. So my appeal is open the strait. Let ships go in, let ships go by, and let's create the conditions for the global economy to recover and for the people that are suffering to end this suffering.
So I want to pick up on one of the things you mentioned, oil and gas, and I got to know you through your climate work. You've been very outspoken on climate, and of course, oil and gas has been one of the key challenges. It'll create poverty, the lack of it, that is, in many places around the world, and it reminds us of the vulnerability that we have to this energy system that's reliant on fossil fuels. And I guess I'm curious, from your perspective, is this an opportunity to pivot away from fossil fuels, to pivot away from oil and gas, and are you making that case to leaders in the UN countries?
Well, this is a moment where people is suffering, where we have a perspective of war. So I've been careful in talking about this because I respect that suffering. But one thing is clear, and what is clear is that today renewable energy is cheaper than fossil fuel produced energy. And not only renewable energy is cheaper, But the markets have already understood it. And the investment in renewable energy last year was more than the double than the investment in fossil fuels. It is true in capacity that has increased much more in renewables than in fossil fuel. It's not yet true in production because we have problems with grids, we have problems with storage, so there is still a lot of things to be done in order to fully benefit from renewables. But one thing is clear. I mean, the sun will not disappear. The wind will not stop blowing. So every country that bases its energy in fossil fuels will have safety in the use of energy. With renewables,
yes, yeah.
will have safety. Okay. When we see what we see today in the Strait of Hormuz, it is obvious that fossil fuels are not only more expensive, are not only the, I would say, product of the past that sooner or later will move out in relation to renewables, but they do not guarantee safety because they are not distributed everywhere as renewables energy can be. And so I think this is a moment to think seriously about the need to accelerate the transition from fossil fuels. They will not disappear from one day to the other, but to accelerate the transition to renewables. And then there is another reason, which is related to climate change. Now we know, scientists have demonstrated that we are going over the 1.5 degrees soon. We'll have an overshoot. We hope that that overshoot will be short. We hope that it will not be very high. And it is still possible, if we adopt the right policies, to come to the end of the century below 1.5 degrees. But that overshoot will have an enormous cost. I mean, in storms, in hurricanes, in drought, and in all other aspects in which climate change is destroying so many lives and creating so many problems around the world. And so it's absolutely essential at the present moment to recognize that we must drastically reduce emissions. And unfortunately, we are not yet in that way. According to the projects presented by the governments around the world, the so-called national determined contributions, we will be reducing emissions by about 10% until 2035, and we would need 60%. So this is the time to give priority again to the need to drastically reduce emissions and the need to support those that will be suffering more. And obviously, small island developing states, several African countries with dramatic areas of drought, and coastal areas that are becoming more and more threatened by rising sea level. Even here in the United States, look at the situation in Miami.
Yeah, it's great to remind us, even though we can talk about clean energy for other purposes, that climate is still critically important. So I appreciate your voice on that. You know, you were speaking about the challenges in some of the developing countries and least developed countries, small island states, et cetera. And of course, one of the things that's critical is aid and development assistance. And that's one of the heartbreaking things to see get pulled back, the lives that are being lost in this moment, not just from the US, but also from Europe. We see in the Gulf now with this crisis, the possibility of aid being pulled back from Gulf countries. What is your message to leaders of countries that are pulling back aid, and what is the solution to this really heartbreaking challenge?
I think that there are two things that can be done. First, aid should be reestablished at the levels that are necessary. But on the other hand, we can multiply the resources we have. I'll give you an example. If we give $1 to a country for a project, it's $1. If we put $1 in the capital of a multilateral development bank, the World Bank or any other bank, that bank goes to the market, and that dollar becomes $7 or $8. No increase in public expenditure, no increase in taxes, but we are able to use the instruments of the market to multiply the resources that exist. Special drawing rights, they cost nothing to anybody. They were used in the COVID, as you remember. Mm-hmm. I think there are good reasons for them to be used in other occasions. It's a way, of course, it's not technically correct to say to create money out of nothing, but it's a way to increase the resources available for countries around the world. For instance, public money, if you give a guarantee instead of giving the money, you allow private to invest. And so you multiply your resources because the guarantee has a cost that is much smaller than the amount that you can mobilize with the private sector. So it's absolutely vital that when resources are decreasing, we use those resources in a way that multiplies their impact. And there are ways to do so. And my appeal is for those that are in governments, or for those that are in the boards of banks, or for those that are in the different organizations that are relevant for this, be able to, I would say, forget the bureaucracy, be able to forget the tradition, the way that you have always done things, and understand that in the moment in which so many people are suffering, it is absolutely essential to increase aid, but even more important than that, to multiply the resources that exist using the market mechanisms that allow to do it effectively.
It's important that we have tools, even though we're pulling back, there are tools that need to be used. It's a great point. Coming close to the end of our time, but I have two questions I want to get in. One, just a quick reflection. When we first met, right at the beginning of your tenure, you told me about how you wanted to modernize the UN, make it useful in the 21st century. Where have you succeeded and where have you come short, fallen short on that?
Well, we are doing now, we started reforms as soon as I became Secretary General, but just to give you two examples of what we are doing now. This year, we decided that we would be able to reduce 22% of the posts in the Secretariat of the UN. And we did it in a way that nobody noticed. We did it in a way that was very effective. I know some experiences of reducing staff in bureaucracies that create a lot of trouble. We did it 22% without any negative impact, because we had prepared that reform seriously. We had the problem, as you know, with the financing for our peacekeeping operations. We were able to reduce 25% of the forces all over the world without creating any problem, because we have the flexibility and the capacity to slim when necessary. We had an enormous reduction in aid, as you said. And our agencies have reduced their dimension. Of course, a lot of staff had to leave, but no entity collapsed, and we were able to go on delivering to the people we care for, even if, unfortunately, at a much lower level than what we did in the past. And we are doing things like, for instance, all agencies in an emergency will now have a supply chain that is common for all of them. So we are using a lot of instruments to make the UN much more effective, much more cost-effective. And the truth is that we are doing it, I would say, and I say this I've been in government, I think we are doing this in a more effective way than most government administrations.
So one final question. You're in your final months as Secretary General. The UN has been around for 80 years, 9 Secretary Generals, all men. Is it time for a woman as Secretary General?
Obviously, I have a problem. I cannot interfere in the electoral campaign.
Of course.
We have men and women.
Yeah.
So I think my opinions are well known in this regard, so I don't need to express them in the moment in which the candidates are campaigning, and they are doing it yesterday and today in the General Assembly. But I believe my opinions are well known in this regard.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you to the Secretary General. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. I am so excited to be here today with the iconic Hilary Duff.
Oh.
Hilary, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dan. Hi.
So I want to start with a line from your Time 100 tribute, written by your friend Nicole Richie. She said, and I quote, "In the minds of millennials everywhere, Hilary Duff has been our friend for most of our lives." How does it feel to hear something like that, especially as you're releasing new music? Is it empowering, or does it add any pressure?
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, Nick was so sweet to write those words, and she embodied, I think, a feeling that is very true. And I have felt like it's actually one of my greatest joys that I've been able to impact people for more than 20 years in feeling like their friend or letting them feel less alone. You know, some reason my purpose here was to connect.
Yeah.
And usually it's been a very positive thing for me.
Is there any fan interactions you've had over the years that's really stood out to you in terms of that impact you've made?
I would say, you know, definitely in the gay community, a lot of kids saying, "You helped me, you know, overcome something that was really challenging where I came from," or "You were there for me," or "You made me feel seen," or "You stood up for me." That's always something that I wear like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
But in general, I mean, I'm at the grocery store and people are like, "You raised me, mother, hi." And it's so sweet, and it makes me feel slightly old, but then I realize we're the same age, and I'm like, I have been here a long time.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, you have just released your first album in 10 years. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
And you've talked about having to relearn the music industry.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what feels different to you now?
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, streaming.
Yeah.
There was no streaming. The landscape has just totally changed. You know, there was not social media, or if there was, it was, you know, the very start of, you know, having everyone in the world has a platform that can be very visible.
Right.
So that was a new thing, but also getting to share your content like that in your life in that way, and kind of like curate what you want people to see. That was something new. And, you know, applying it to making and putting a record out has been a really wonderful tool, but also very challenging to ever take a break.
Yeah. Is there anything that sort of surprised you about that, or that you learned that you sort of liked?
Oh gosh, I mean, I think on a positive and simple scale, like creating content and following trends and using it as like a lighthearted way to connect with people has been, sorry, not always lighthearted, but fun, I guess.
Sure.
Has been, you know, really great. Going to the part where there's, you know, it's hard to set your phone down in this day and age. So the constant stream of people's opinions.
Right.
My husband and I talk about it a lot. You know, when we were making this record, it was very freeing to just make something that felt like it was from my book and my life. And, you know, once you put it out in the world, it's no longer yours.
Right. And
you just have to be okay with that, but also fingers crossed, like, I hope they like it, I hope they like it.
Right.
But, you know, I think that part is a little bit challenging, and it makes me extremely grateful to go home to my 4 kids and like have to set my phone down and be forced to not be connected.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And you touched on making the album with your husband. You know, this album is pretty personal. Like, you touch on relationships, intimacy, marriage, frustration, all of it. I'm curious, as you're making something like this, how do you decide what to make public in music and what to keep private?
Honestly, making music for me, I would love to say that I'm, you know, such a great writer that I can, you know, use other people's lives as inspiration, but I am very much taking from my own experiences and kind of what bumps around in my head and you know, I carry with me. So I think there was no way to make a record at 38 years old after a 10-year break and not just kind of divulge what those 10 years have been like for me, and what I'm going through and living with, and the highs and lows, and I really felt like I owed just extreme honesty to my fans, and that's how we were going to meet again.
Were there any topics that you decided were going to be completely off limits that you want to share with me and my 500 closest friends?
It's pretty exposed.
Okay.
I would say it's pretty open and exposed. And it really wasn't, I guess it's a little scary to like I said before, have the world process it and kind of do their takeaways. It's like when you give a really great interview and then you see the clip that someone pulls from it and you're like, what? That changed everything. So
sorry on behalf of the media.
I think that part is a little scary, and you just have to know what your intention was and what you made, and know that the people that you are trying to reach are consuming it as a whole.
Yeah.
I might have gotten a little off trail there, but that's
okay.
Yes, a little scary. No, I don't think we sat and had a meeting saying this is completely off limits. We kind of just rolled with what was coming up and what seemed like the topics that are me.
Totally.
Yeah.
You have said that the title of your album, Luck or Something, comes from people asking how you managed to keep your head on straight growing up in the industry. So I'm curious what your answer is now. Was it luck or something else?
I think where the meat of the question and answer lies is the or something.
Yeah.
Because after all this time, finally taking some ownership of my life and how I got here and how I, carved out my space is because of me.
Right.
And I think it's really, I think I'm a quite humble person, and it's hard to take credit for things. My friends and I are starting to try to apply when someone's like, you look fantastic today. We say, I accept that.
Right.
Instead of trying to divulge and be like, what? I'm a mess. I don't,
Yeah.
We're trying to accept compliments. And I think, at this stage in life, I'm realizing I've had a 25-year career, and definitely some low points, but
Right.
a lot of high points. And, this record for me is a high point and something I'm extremely proud of. And how I got here was definitely some luck, but
Yeah.
the or something is all the hard work and I wasn't always taken seriously. I'm not always taken seriously,
Right.
and I have a hard job, and I've done a lot of things that I'm really proud of. So the or something is the stuff.
Do you feel like you're taken more seriously now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, coming up as a child actor, it's hard to get out of that.
Right.
You and I were having a conversation before where, I'm 38, and I feel like now I'm finally able to take agency in my life and make big decisions that I'm really confident in.
Right.
Although I did before, but there's just a level now where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the adult in the room.
Right.
Finally.
So I'm curious, recently there have been several documentaries that revisit the late 90s and early 2000s era of child stardom, which of course you came up in, things like Quiet on Set or Framing Britney Spears. When you watch conversations like that, does it ever change how you think about your own experience growing up in that world?
It's, such a long time ago, but it's an out-of-body experience.
Right.
I think I feel really quite sad when I watch a lot of those documentaries for obvious reasons. I feel very grateful that I wasn't put in too many positions that left, battle wounds on me.
Mm-hmm.
But I have held a job as an adult since I was 9 years old. I had a very different upbringing, a lot of missed experiences, but also a lot of amazing. I'm a scrubby kid from Texas. Sometimes I'm like, how did I get here? How did I end up here? I think it goes to the luck or something, but it doesn't take away the fact that I, worked as an adult since such a young age and had to be able to hold my own in a room full of adults constantly, and was expected to show up and be professional, and through exhaustion or sickness or whatever, just keep grinding.
Yeah.
It's taught me a lot, and it's completely formed who I am, and I'm proud of that person.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah, applaud that. Great. So you're also, of course, a mom of 4 kids.
Yes.
I'm curious, what advice would you offer the parents of aspiring child stars today?
Tough question, honestly. When you grow up in it, it's really hard to zoom out and say, this
Right.
were some key ingredients that helped ease this process. I think I would say no a little bit more often.
Yeah.
That is something that I've learned in the past, only past 5 years. And, just doing things that are authentic. I think one thing that's hard is being an actor, you're like, yes, I'll take any job, right? Because it's so hard to get a job. But then you end up saying yes to things that aren't serving you.
Right.
So I think, if you're a child, your eyes are so wide open and you're willing to do anything and to please, just trying to, stay authentic, keep your craft in mind, always be working to better your craft, and then the things that you want hopefully present,
Totally.
And protect your kid.
Protect the kid is,
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Protect your kid. Gosh, I really am, the day is going to come when one of my kids is take me to auditions.
Yep, and you're gonna be like,
ah.
So we only have a few minutes left, so I want to have a little bit of fun at the end. You have been famous long enough that the internet has had plenty of time to invent stories about you.
Ooh.
So I am curious, what is the most wildly incorrect rumor you have ever read about yourself?
Wildly incorrect rumor I've heard about myself. Oh my God. The second I walk off stage, it's gonna hit me, and I'm really
We can bring you back on and you
that
can tell.
thing. Someone really important is speaking after me, and I'm like, but I got it, I remembered it.
No.
Geez, I don't know. One of the positive things was someone called me a good tipper.
Oh, okay.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was a good day. I was like, yes.
Not a rumor though, right? You are?
I think I am.
Okay.
It was a good rumor. A bad thing. Gosh, I don't know. Things get made up all the time. That is a big portion of the internet that's very disturbing, is the talking heads on TikTok and stuff, where you're like, oh, cool, my kid's probably going to see that.
Yep. No,
Because now, my teenager has social media.
Yes. All right, last question. Raven Simone, your fellow Disney icon, recently described you as part of Disney's Mount Rushmore. First of all,
sick.
do you accept that
sick.
nomination?
I accept.
Okay.
I accept. I put my time in.
Good.
I accept.
And second, who is on your Disney Mount Rushmore?
Gosh, this is. Do they have to be from Disney, or they're just?
You could make up the rules. I guess Disney Mount
Okay.
Rushmore would, yeah, okay.
Okay. Oh, this is so hard. I have answered this question before, and
Okay.
I put up the Olsen twins.
Okay.
And I put up Melissa Joan Hart because she was
yeah.
Clarissa Explains It All.
Yes.
Big icon for me growing
yeah,
up.
yeah.
And then Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh, yeah.
But I think maybe it's gonna be like Britney and Christina and the early pop stars that made me want to be a pop star myself.
Totally.
But I could probably have this conversation with you all afternoon and be
we will.
but then
Obviously,
there's this person.
All good. Well, Hilary, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you so much for having me.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. As Jess said, only at Time can we transition from a wonderful conversation with Hilary Duff to a discussion about leadership with some of the most respected leaders in business and the arts, finance, and public relations. So let's dive right in.
I'm just sorry we're not Jonathan Groff singing to all of you.
We try.
We try.
I'd like to dive right in and ask each of you, start with some definitions. I'd like to ask each of you how you would define what makes a strong leader and whether those characteristics or that definition has changed over the course of your careers. So Darren, let's start with you.
Thank you. Happy to be here. I believe the best leaders are authentic, candid, vulnerable, self-aware, and have some level of empathy. I believe those qualities are very important.
And do you think that's changed over the course of your career? Do you see any evolution in that?
Yes, it's changed. Thank goodness it's changed. I think there was a time when you could be a leader and not be particularly empathetic or
And rule up more out of fear.
Well, and
command.
it was a very different sort of top-down command and control system of leadership. And we know that that style of leadership, we know from very good research, isn't effective over the long run for an organization, a country, and so, yeah, that's how I see it.
Nelle, from the world of finance, how would you define a strong leader, and have you seen that change as well?
Well, Darren just had a very good list of what makes a good leader. I would say to lead people, you have to like people. Like I would start off with that, right? You have to be a student of people, and you have to meet people where they're at. And I love like Simon Sinek and there's a bunch of other people on leadership, but Maya Angelou has a very good quote, which is, people don't remember what you say to them or what you do, they remember how you made them feel. And I think that is like table stakes in leadership, and especially in finance. And to Darren's point, that's evolved. That's probably not what it looked like many, tens of years ago. So that's what I would say.
Richard, you deal with a lot of corporations, large companies, and leaders, often in crisis too. How have you seen the characteristics of leadership change?
I think the big changes happened in the last year and a half when business leaders have put their heads down and waited for the storm to pass, like turtles. The problem is that there are turtles sitting on an 8-lane highway in their shell with a 18-wheeler coming at you. And I think that the smart business leader will actually recognize that the greater risk is losing your people and losing your customers. Because as much of a risk as it is to stick your head up at the moment, smart companies stay the course, and they do the work, and they hang in there on whether it's diversity or sustainability or all the rest. So, and if business is the most trusted institution because it's the only one seen as both competent and ethical, there's a higher standard for leaders of those institutions, and they must lead. And you saw in Minneapolis evidence of that leadership. Took a week, but 60 companies signed a petition that said ICE needs to go and stop.
But Richard, don't you also think that part of the challenge when you speak of our aspirations for diversity and inclusion is that there were many leaders in business who weren't authentically supportive and were doing the performative work in the wake of what happened with the murder of George Floyd, and were reading their talking points from their comms teams, but that they weren't actually internalizing and behaving in a way that reflected an authentic commitment. And when the opportunity arose to retreat, we saw what happened. And so the question of authenticity for me, I think, to your point about losing your people, is why many business leaders and other leaders have lost their people.
So, Darren, I think the essential test is whether a company can reframe what it's doing as opportunity and business performance. And I think there's a lot of evidence that if you have a diverse workforce, you do perform better. And if you actually do spend money in diverse communities, you do get more customers. So that's the point. Make the business case and don't have it be a matter of purpose and softer issues.
Darren, you raised the issue of authenticity, and I wonder if you can address what role does trust play in that, and how do leaders build trust, especially today?
Well, I think in some ways, as Nelle said, the issue of being who you say you are, your people can suss that out, and they can see through that. And I think one of the challenges for trust is that people don't see their leaders as trustworthy because their rhetoric is not aligned with their behavior. And so it's one of the reasons, as Richard has documented very well, why people don't trust leaders as much as they used to.
I think part of that might be fueled by the information revolution, right? Now, people know more about leaders and companies than ever before, and probably that some executive leadership wishes they didn't know. But the amount of information that is accessible now to every person on the planet, practically, means that people think they know more, right? And that more things are exposed and accessible for people to hear and, as you say, perhaps suss out the disconnect.
Well, and to see the dissonance.
Yes.
I mean, you used to be able to live behind an annual report or 2 or 3 shareholder meetings.
Or a message or narrative that you put out.
Absolutely, right? and that was your identity in the marketplace. And social media and other forms of media, regardless of how we might feel about it, has created the capacity to see authentically who leaders are, because you are able to see the way they communicate privately and the difference and the clear dissonance of their private communication, which reflects who they really are and what they're saying into the public.
Now, Nelle, finance is often very personal, and how does a global company, an international company like JP Morgan, how does it maintain that personal touch with such a large-scale company?
Yeah. Well, trust isn't built from a distance, right? So being a global institution, this isn't probably going to surprise people, but we build trust sort of one relationship at a time locally. And so we really believe in that. We have an American Dream initiative right now, sort of what Richard was talking about, sort of behaviorally showing up in communities and doing our part in helping small businesses, financial health, helping people buy homes. So we're going to do something big in Alabama. We did this in Detroit. That's how we think a financial institution should show up. It's not going to be from the big headquarters in New York City. And so that's how we do it. I think Darren's point, though, is really important about behaviors. And I think, you can talk, and that's really a noun. When you show up and you are behaving and doing things that people can see that are actually truly showing what your values are, that is where you unlock, I think, a lot of this in communities and inside companies. I think it's a really important point.
And you can see when I worked in Harlem in the 90s doing community development and we'd have CEOs show up, you could tell that there were people who were uncomfortable in a black neighborhood. And you could just see it. I mean, the body language, the ways in which and
The car right outside.
the car right
run
outside,
out. Yeah.
following them the entire time you're
Yeah,
walking them
right.
around Harlem.
Right.
And so, you know, and I will say, I mean, this is, one of the reasons I think JP Morgan has been so successful is because I think your chairman, regardless of what anyone thinks about him, is authentically who he is.
Very real.
And I think that is a really positive attribute for a leader to have, and whether you're making the president unhappy or some particular community group unhappy, you are consistent in your behavior, and I think that's a quality to aspire to as a leader.
And he's a leader of a more than 300,000 person organization, and look at that trickle down. Like, that's powerful leadership. Like, we all kind of, and he's so real, and we believe it. And I think it really matters in these particular issues and in places that we're doing business. It's pretty special.
Richard, you conduct a trust barometer every year. Are some of these themes resonating? What are some of the things that survey has revealed that have surprised you or concerned you?
So the first big point is that trust is local.
Yep.
It historically is conveyed top down. That was destroyed by the Iraq War, the financial crisis, and it moved to horizontal, peer-to-peer. And now, since COVID, it's local. In my employer, my CEO, my company newsletter, more than mainstream media. The second point to make is we've moved from an era of polarization, which was political, red jersey, blue jersey, to grievance, which means I believe the system doesn't work and I'm angry about it, to now insularity. And think about this. I have a mirror, that's the media, and I've smashed it on the ground. And all these little shards of glass are now speaking to me. So they're podcasts or Substacks or whatever, and I only read that which I agree with, and my prism is only people who have the same solutions to social issues, who have the same backgrounds I do, and so we become narrow. I actually believe that business and my employer is the solve for this, because we have to sit down and talk about Minneapolis and talk about Iran and talk about things that matter, because we're not doing it any other place. We can't do it in the neighborhood anymore because people are too angry. And so there are rules in the workplace about behavior. And therefore, we have this theory of trust brokering, and there should be trust brokers within JPM or Ford Foundation or Edelman who actually convene people of different political views, different age groups, and make them sit and talk. Because otherwise, they're going to continue to be hostile, they're going to be self-referential, they're going to be anti-innovation, they're going to lose their optimism, and they're going to be dysfunctional in the workplace. So it's in business's own interest to actually have these sit-downs. We shouldn't just say, oh, this is going to pass. It's not going to pass. We've moved progressively to Dante's circle of hell. And so we've got, we have, and we have to stop it.
Is AI in the circle of hell?
AI is partly in the circle of hell because, in fact, people now rely on AI more than doctors about medical decisions, in part because they're politicized, in part because they say, oh, doctors aren't available, maybe not have the money. But this, even AI is, you know, people have much more access to it in higher income groups. So we really should use the workplace, whether you're a small business or a large business, sit down with your people. One last, when you think about being local, also think about multinationals like JPM. You have to be polynational. You can't just be a multinational and run everything from New York. You actually have to allow your team in India or in Japan or whatever to have some face, have some involvement in local issues, and be a presence and have some voice.
So Nelle, you brought up AI, and Richard, you talked about this trend toward local, and I think both are really a double-edged sword, right? So let's start with the increasing kind of parochialism, because that can veer in the wrong direction, as you said, if we have people who are increasingly defining trust as you know, the people around them who believe as they do. Are we now in an era where we're conflating belief with trust?
It's a big question. Look, I think Richard has some good points. I do think information is going to be infinite. You're going to be able to find out anything you want. And by the way, that's a wonderful thing for many, many parts of the world, right? Who who, because you didn't go to said school or you didn't live in New York City, you didn't have the information that, others had. And so I think that's going to be a positive. I think that what's going to happen, though, and I said this to Richard, I said, am I going to ask Claude how to do crisis management for my company, or am I going to ask Richard, who has depths of experience and has seen so much? So I think advice and experience is going to become paramount. Like, I see them in partnership together. I just think these big sweeping statements of it's one or the other is not going to be the case. And so I just think experience, judgment is going to become really, really important, and advice is going to be table stakes. People can go and you can ask Claude right now, what's the best portfolio you should have? How do I think about, giving money away? What does that look like? And they will spit out really good answers. So it's really going to become, are you showing up and giving your advice? What does that look like? That's what's going to become more important.
And that
But
can
trust,
be a
though,
part
in
of
part
AI
is,
as well, right?
it can be, but part of the challenge is we see truth in part through the lens of identity. And I think one of the real challenges for leaders is to define a common sense of identity in a nation, in a company, in a foundation, because we have to be one, but we're not all the same. And so how do we do that? And that's what we lack in leadership, and that's what is hard in a large multinational, because we are different, and we do share. I wrote a piece in the Times, 4th of July, a couple of years ago, and I said, I am black, I'm queer, I'm all of these things, but I'm also an American. And if I can't hold all of that, if it's just that I'm black, and that's the only lens I see things through, then you and if I only see things through the lens of a black gay man, what do I have in common with you? Right? And so we have to be able to have some table set that is a common identity, and that's in part what we've lost in this country, and that's in part what is really hard in a big, complex corporation or foundation to achieve without leadership that is attuned to that as a challenge and an objective.
Or even in communities, let's look again at the local community, which I think is where most people feel this, right? And are starting to feel this. Richard, you talked about the divisiveness that you're beginning to see in your surveys, that this parochialism and these beliefs and this kind of narrowing of your sort of core group is really leading to divisive views, that people just aren't tolerant anymore of anything that's outside, that falls outside of that belief. How do we now, if we're looking at neighbors, communities at the smaller level, how do people sort of lead there in advocating for, sitting at the table, finding this common ground? How do we start doing that?
I think you actually need to have people who don't accept the status quo. I'll give you an example of Pastor Corey Brooks in Chicago, who has a center that he's building in Englewood in really a pretty hard neighborhood. And he's walking across America as we speak to raise money for this. He's raised $30 million, and he says, I don't take money from government. I'm going to educate kids about the value of private sector and showing up for work on time and having religion and having good standards for family. But we need to restore optimism in this country. Part of the 250th anniversary of the country has to be, we've been through hard times before. We need to show people who are in their 20s that they can do better than their parents. Only 20% of Americans believe that now. It dropped by 10 points in the last year. That's a shocking development. We also have a huge mass class divide in this country, the largest we've ever seen, 30 points between the top quartile and bottom quartile people, because they're experiencing inflation and tariffs and risk of job loss to AI. We have to embrace reskilling of these people. They can't be insurance adjusters one day and out of work the next. So I just think corporations have to say, This is the biggest challenge of our time, the mass-class divide. And if reskilling doesn't happen, business is really going to lose all its trust.
So they need to lead by example.
But how do we, I mean, I think it really isn't a surprise that the numbers are where they are, given how young people live their lives. I mean, I couldn't have imagined graduating from college or law school with debt. I mean, I couldn't have imagined that. And so why would a young person who's 22 and $150,000 in debt feel optimistic or feel that their future is what their parents' future was? And so when we say we have to, I mean, it is the core issue of inequality in our country. And so unless we are willing to address that, which is very hard for we elites to do, because it means talking about giving back may not be enough. Talking about giving up may be necessary. And that's what's really hard, because we elites, again, it's one of the reasons there's so much distrust, because of the dissonance between the rhetoric that we elites and many of we progressive elites, and then the actual ways in which we support policies that give us more tax breaks and make it harder for young people to buy homes, make it more difficult for people to have access to higher education. Right? And so we have systems and structures that create this by design. I mean, it isn't a surprise that young people are pessimistic. I mean, it's not a surprise at all if you actually, understand how they live their lives. My cousin, who is just a hardworking guy on an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico, just wants to have a double wide in his rural community in Louisiana. That's his dream. And I help him with this. It is hard for him to achieve that dream.
But there's this sort of duality of, well, we can have free markets and everything's going to be fine, or we can have a set of government subsidies. There's a middle. And the middle, to me, is where we need to get to, because the extremes are dominating the social media conversation, and they get much more heat. And there is a place for well-regulated AI.
And AI is going to be where, if we were going to do it, that's where the middle should be. Because if you just have free markets and you just let this thing rip, it's going to be really, really hard to come back from. And that's why leaders have to step in here. And there needs to be a lot of government and public companies and private companies really thinking about how to retool people. Because what Darren just described, that's going to get a whole lot harder then.
So Nelle, what are companies like, finance, Darren brought up financial disparities. What is a company like JP Morgan doing? What role can it play when you say, companies have to step in and looking at that middle? How do we address that, the population we failed?
Yeah, I mean, so the way we show up, right? Because we're a bank, right? So we're thinking about like, how do we play our part in what Darren just described? It is through our initiative around the American Dream. So right now we're scaling up. We did 1 million courses in financial health and financial education. We're taking that to 5 million. We're going to support 10,000 businesses. We're going to be out there in local communities putting branches. That's like a whole thing. We're going to give people jobs in branches. We're going to help people buy homes. Maybe we can help Darren's cousin and nephew. Is it nephew, cousin? Sort of? Okay, all of that.
Cousin.
So I think that's the way we're going to do it. And we're not perfect, and we're not going to be, but we're going to give it a shot. And we saw what we did in Detroit, and that gave us a lot of wind at our back to say we actually can be really impactful here. Our first community center was in Harlem that we opened up around financial health and helping that community. What was really cool about it is our competitors followed. And that kind of changed that block. And so that's how we're going to do it. But I mean, there needs to be a whole lot more of that. It's not gonna just happen on its own.
Yeah, all right. We could go on, but I know that we're at time, so I wanted to leave everyone with a quote from, in line with how Darren started us off here in the discussion, a quote from another leader we all know and love, Michael Scott, from The Office. Would I rather be feared or loved? That's easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. So I'll leave you with that.
Well said.
Thank you, Darren, Nelle, and Richard.
Rachel, welcome, and thank you for being here. On October 7th, Rachel and John Goldberg-Polin's 23-year-old son, Hirsch, was one of 251 people taken hostage by Hamas. We photographed Rachel and John alongside pictures of Hirsch on the cover of Time 8 days later. After being held hostage for 328 days, Hirsch was executed along with 5 other hostages. For her advocacy, Rachel was named to the TIME100 in 2024. She's the author of an extraordinary new book published yesterday, When We See You Again. Rachel, when we first met on the 102nd day, you said to me then that you told yourself each morning, pretend to be human. What did it mean then to pretend to be human?
Well, I think that we were in a very unusual odyssey of having had our only son stolen from us, knowing that he had his dominant left forearm blown off during the abduction, and that he was being held alive in unbearable and unimaginable conditions. And the torment and torture that we were going through was so visceral and challenging that each morning, my first inclination upon waking was to lie in a ball in the fetal position on the floor and feel completely helpless. But I knew that that was not going to help get him home or any of the other 250 hostages. And so there was part of the mantra, and there were several, was pretend to be human, go.
Do you still feel like you're pretending?
I often feel that and I talk about this in the book, that there are moments of acting, pretending, lying, faking it, which I think all of us do at different points in our lives, and especially when we are experiencing pain and suffering, and there's a lack of understanding of what that arc looks like, that we aren't permitted sometimes to experience being in an excruciating place. And so we sort of put on this facade, and we go to work, or we're in our relationships, or we're in our friendships, and in these dynamics, and yet we're not really telling the truth because we don't think that we would be held and scaffolded in a way that we need. So we pretend.
You mentioned having these mantras. One of them, another one, was hope is mandatory. Go. Where on earth did you find hope?
Well, when Hirsch was still alive and being held, that became almost, I thought of it more as a demand from myself for John, my husband. It wasn't advice of stay hopeful, you'll see him again, or it wasn't a suggestion. It actually was a demand, because there's such a fine line between hope and despair. And once we fall into that quicksand of despair, it is so sticky and tricky to get out. And so we just couldn't permit it. And that's part of what we struggle with now, because we needed to put all of that angst and misery and confusion in these satchels and buckle them really tight and put them into storage to try to run to get these people home. And now, what do we do with that storage locker full of murky befuddlement?
You mentioned despair. There's a moment you describe in the book of a Zoom call with President Biden, and he's putting his head in his hands and he's weeping during this call. What happened at that moment?
Well, that was very early on. He was meeting with the American civilians who had been taken hostage, and on the call, one of the mothers was, we're like looking at these diorama scenes, as all of us have done on Zooms, and she leaves her little room for a couple of minutes, and she came back and she unmuted and started this primal, horrific, wounded animal screaming because she had just been told that they found her second daughter. She had already found out that her first daughter had been killed, and they had just found the second body. So both of her girls were gone. And all of us were on mute, except for the president, and all of us started screaming. And he put his head in his hands and started to weep, and we could hear him weeping. And it was a real human moment of unity within suffering, which is where we find ourselves now, because Hirsch was executed on the 328th day that he was being held. And so when we received him back, we got him back in a bag with 6 bullet wounds, close range. His hair was covered in gunpowder. He was emaciated, skeletal, filthy. And what do we do with that now? And yet, we have become almost a magnet for so many people who are experiencing pain. It doesn't matter what the circumstance is that brings you to a loss or suffering or mourning or grief. What matters is that this is part of the human enterprise. We will all experience these sensations at some point. And that, strangely, is unifying.
That scene with the president has stuck in my head because I think a lot of this book and a lot of your experience has been a lesson in power and how power works and what are the limits of power. What do you think you learned about power and the people who hold it?
Well, it's interesting. I actually don't feel at all that this is a tell-all or a memoir or a he did this and she did that. This book, for me, to me, it is a love letter that is swaddled in pain, or perhaps it's a pain letter that is doused in love. And it's not about people in power, and it's not about people of influence and interests. And I really actually don't ever mention the names of anybody in the book,
but
including the president.
You had a front row seat to people who have a lot of power, and I think you learned a lot about how it's used.
I did, and I actually tragically grew to understand that so much is theatrically choreographed theater, and that 99% of us, and I include myself in the 99, that we are sheep. And I actually think we want to be sheep. And I crave being sheep. I crave being a sheep again, and I feel confused that I was privy to how the world actually works for like this very small section of this period, of this chapter of confusing torment. And it's hard to integrate that we have been given these godly characteristics, and we've been imbued with insight and intellect and wisdom, and yet we don't use those to their full capacity. and that we so desperately want to be led. And the people who want to lead, that's sort of a red flag. If you think of the most tremendous leaders in world history, my husband John pointed this out. He said that it's the reluctant leaders who actually have been our most profound leaders.
Eli Sharabi's memoir of his 491 days as a hostage of Hamas ran on the cover of Time. There's a passage from it that I want to just quickly read. Sharabi writes that Hirsch told him, "He who has a why can bear any how," a line from Viktor Frankl. I mull it over, Sharabi writes about this encounter with your son. The saying feels like a gift. It matches the spirit I am already in. Even hearing the words, I am already living them. I have a why, many whys, and I'm focused on surviving, on living, on being, on returning alive and well to my family and my life. I have a why. The first night in the tunnels passes, then the second, soon another will pass. I can do this, I can survive anything. What does that moment mean to you?
I think we all will come to moments in our lives where we don't understand why we're dropped into a situation that seems so arduous and so insurmountable. And I take a tremendous amount of solace knowing that Hirsch was saying that to so many people in the tunnels. And now I am very much focused, as is John, on picking up Hirsch's why and figuring out what is our why. And you know, that can seem tremendously overwhelming. But instead, we can say, what is my why for today? Or what is my why in this dynamic or relationship for this month? And I think that instead of feeling overwhelmed, we can just feel like, I actually mentioned in the book, if anyone's seen The Shawshank Redemption, you know, you can focus on chipping away. Chip away, chip away, chip away. I'm not trying to do a spoiler here if people have not seen that. There might be young people here, I can't see you, but you know, I'm old. And, but I think there are huge lessons in that, which also are reflected, by the way, in the Jewish tradition in Ethics of Our Fathers, which is part of the Mishnah, the oral law. There's Rabbi Tarfon who says, don't get overwhelmed. It's not on you to complete the task, but you are not exempt from doing nothing. Everybody has to do chip, chip, chip.
Speaking of the Jewish tradition, you quote the Talmud in your book, this line, a person's feet will always take them where they're supposed to be. How do you make sense of the fact that this is where you're supposed to be?
I very much believe in that. You know, there are many permutations of that passage. It's originally in Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, he talks about this folktale that's called Death in Tehran. And there is a version of it in ancient Mesopotamia, there's a version of it in Islam, and there's a version of it in Judaism in the Talmud. And ultimately it's saying if you try to outrun your destiny or trick your path, it's not going to work. You're going to run face first into where you're supposed to be. And it actually gives me tremendous solace knowing that even though I hate that Hirsch is not here, I happen to be a person of faith, and I know he's not supposed to be here now. And the way I know it is he's not here.
You share the Billy Collins poem, The Lanyard, in your book, quoting the line, "You can never repay your mother." I disagree, you write. I know how Hirsch repaid me. How did he do it?
He stayed alive. He fought and kept himself alive for 328 days, allowing me to try to save him. And there's a very esteemed ultra-Orthodox rabbi here in New York, actually, who contacted me after Hirsch was killed, and he said, listen to me. You're the mother of a Holocaust survivor. He did absolutely everything right, and he survived, and then he was killed. And just know that you will always be in pain, but that's okay. Because I started to realize in writing this is that the grief is a badge of love that we wear because the love doesn't die. The person can die. The love keeps growing. It's like bamboo. And everyone in here who has lost someone knows what I'm talking about. It is, and therefore that love that we can no longer project onto the person with the 5 senses that we have, that we normally use to interact with people in this world, that love becomes this badge that is known as grief, and it is the price that we pay for having love. And I will tell you something, it is excruciating, and I hate it, and I would pay this price again and again every single day because I had that delicious boy for 23 years and 340 days in this world with me.
Rachel Goldberg, thank you. Hope is mandatory. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Well, Victoria, we're very happy to have you here. Thank you so much for being a part of the TIME100 Summit.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It means so much, and thank you everyone for being here.
Let's talk about the fashion brand. You've been at it for 20 years, and it hasn't always been an easy road. So what did it take for you to be taken seriously as a designer and a business leader?
You know, I was in the Spice Girls. You might have heard of the Spice Girls.
We had no idea.
I'm not singing today, okay? Just so you know, they gave me a handheld, and it was a little tempting. But so I was in the Spice Girls for 4 years, and I've been in fashion for more than 20 years, building my fashion brand and my beauty brand. And I was very aware of people's preconceptions when I decided to change industries. And, you know, it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of hard work. It's not been an easy journey to get to where I am now. I've learned so much along the way. In my documentary, I was very transparent about the troubles that the businesses have had. And I'm just very proud to say that after 20 years, to be able to sit here in this current climate and say that our business is doing incredibly well, we're seeing double-digit growth, and to be able to say that as an independent brand in this industry is really quite incredible. I'm very, very proud of that. But in answer to your question, it has been a lot of hard work and surrounding myself with the most incredible teams, both creatively. I've got fantastic business partners, 2 wonderful female CEOs who inspire me every day, and the most wonderful creatives.
You mentioned the documentary. There was an amazing line in there talking about what you did have to do, some changes you had to make. Kill the wag was a line that really stood out. Wag, of course, being a slang term for wives and girlfriends of athletes, and it comes with a certain aesthetic connotation. Does any part of you resent or regret that you had to change in order to be accepted?
No, not at all. You know, I think that I look back at pictures from the past and I smile. It's been a journey, but I think that I feel so confident in what I do now, that I feel that my creative outlet is how I can express myself. It doesn't have to be about dressing in that way, you know. I've grown up and I feel so much more confident now in what I do and what I have achieved.
I read a piece that framed you and your husband as 2 of the first influencers. How do you feel about that label, influencer?
You know, I mean, look, I think that I am a person that people will listen to, okay? Because I'm in the public eye. And that is a double-edged sword. When my business was struggling, because my name is on the label, that story was all over the front pages of newspapers. Now, I can also use that to my advantage. Take, for example, when I do beauty tutorials, and I can use my voice and my platform to communicate with my community, whether that's styling tips of how to wear my collections, or whether that's to show my beauty community how I put my makeup on, and talk about the product and why of the product. This is another thing that has been key over the last 20 years. I am absolutely obsessed with product, both fashion and beauty. I am so hands-on. Everything I do, there has to be a reason behind everything I do. I don't put anything out there, whether it's a simple white t-shirt or a piece of makeup, until I truly believe it is the best in class. I am so hands-on, and I obsess over every single little detail. And I love how I can talk about that with my community through social. And I have such a huge community. I mean, it started, obviously, because of the platform and the presence that I have.
On social, I love when your daughter Harper will appear sometimes to help you sort of tell the story of the beauty brand as if she's stealing products from your kit. It's very sweet. What style lessons are you passing on to her? And will she inherit any of your Spice Girls looks?
Harper she's been sitting on my lap through product development meetings since she was a baby. She is as obsessed with product as I am, and so yeah, she loves fashion, she loves beauty, and I'm pretty sure she would love to get her hands on those Spice Girls costumes.
Anyone in particular?
Oh my goodness. Well, not the PVC catsuit just yet. She's 14, okay? So we're going to wait for that.
Oh, no. I'll borrow it in the meantime, if you're offering.
For sure. You could have worn it today. Next year.
Yeah, next year. We'll work on that. Amazing. I know that some reports circulated in the fall that you had hired bankers to explore a potential sale of the brand. Is the brand for sale?
Right now I'm focusing on building the brands. I've spent such a long time, or we as a team have spent such a long time fixing. And we now have very solid foundations. And now I can finally start building the house that I have dreamed of for many, many years. And so I'm really focusing on that. We see an enormous potential for the brands. But I never say never. I will always look at any opportunity that comes my way. But right now things are looking great, and I'm very excited to, after all these years, really be able to fulfill my dreams. I always say dream big and then dream even bigger. And so that is the next chapter.
It sort of brings to mind the Spice Girls message of empowerment, and I wonder how that resonates for you today.
The Spice Girls were about girl power. And for me, my North Star is empowering women. It started through empowering women through music. Now, I want to make women feel strong and powerful and like the most beautiful versions of themselves. Everything I do, I feel like I'm being really, really honest in both fashion and beauty. Ultimately, it started with me creating what I desired, what I couldn't find, what I wanted myself. And that is still the case. People have so much choice. But like I said, for me, I obsess over those details, and I don't put anything out until I believe it's best in class, because that's what I want, that's what I desire, and I know that that's what my customer desires, and that's what she comes to me for. I believe that she trusts me, and that is really, really important.
That's powerful. It's an earned trust.
Absolutely.
In both of the docuseries, the one focused on David and the one focused on you, I think we all really enjoyed kind of getting a glimpse into what your lives were like behind the scenes of these big moments happening in your careers, in your marriage, and so on. How did it feel for you sharing that more personal side, that look into your interior life?
You know, to be honest, I quite enjoyed the process. I always say that I went into the process a control freak and came out a reformed control freak because I didn't have that much control, and the film crew were following me at work. And so really, they were just filming me going to work every day. It was a great crew, and I think I learned very early on to really trust and respect the process. I had incredible talent around me, and I just trusted them, and I think that I learned so much from the process of the documentary. It was like a year's intense therapy, if I can be honest, because I always live in the present and I'm always looking forward. And this is the first time that I've had to reflect on my journey. And it was really emotional because I realized that I've spent most of my life being told no, being told that I'm not good enough. For whatever reason, ever since I was young and I was at school, and every time I've been knocked, I've got back up again. And it really was quite emotional, and I can honestly say that it's taken all these years for me to get to the age that I'm at now to actually say to myself, I am good enough. And I didn't realize that until I had that moment of reflection whilst I was filming the documentary. And I'm really proud of myself after all these years, and I never thought that I would say that.
You have been in the public eye, as you mentioned, for so long, since your early 20s, and your personal news makes headlines. How do you cope mentally, emotionally, when private matters become international news?
I mean, this has been happening since I was 20, so it's been going on a long time. And I have an incredible husband who supports me enormously. We're always there for each other. And I learned a long time ago to really not listen to the noise, not focus on the noise. Someone's always going to have something to say. I focus, and I just don't pay attention to it, if that makes any sense. Someone else will deal with it. I don't want to know, That's how I handle it, I suppose.
The reformed control freak in you, I am curious how having control or having that need for control has both served you and undermined you in business.
I'm very close to my team. I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And I'm very, very close with my team, very hands-on with the business. But I'm a founder, but I'm a creative as well. And learning to delegate was hard for me at the beginning because I wanted to do everything. But I've learned to delegate, and I have incredible people around me that I trust. And like I said, it's really important to know what you know, but it's really, really important to know what you don't know. And so therefore surround yourself with people that know what you don't.
What are the things that you feel you know best? What is your greatest contribution to the brands?
I trust my gut instinct. I really do. And I am very aware of my brand codes and my brand DNA. I feel that I know my customer. She is me. But
there's only one Lady Victoria Beckham.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you. I know my customer. It's really important to me to get to know my customer. I love to do in-store events where I'm meeting my customer and asking her how she feels in the clothes. What does she like? Those kind of details are really, really important to me.
Of all of the zones in which you've had influence, of all of the hats that you've worn, tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
Oh, she just couldn't wait, could she?
your legacy to be?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I had to.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You got there before I did. You know, it's my dream, and what I hope I'm doing is building a legacy brand. This has never been a vanity project. You know, I am so passionate about what I do, and there are so many things I want to do. You know, I am just scratching the surface. I'm incredibly ambitious. So I would like to be remembered as a brand that really does empower women, make women feel like the most powerful, strong version of themselves. And what I was about to say, actually, to your question before, is as much as I know my customer, I'm also very aware of my brand codes and brand DNA. And so with each collection that I do, I want to be part of the conversation and to have a strong fashion message, but at the same time, it's important to stay true to yourself as well at the same time, if that makes sense.
That could almost be a song. Stay true to yourself. Victoria Beckham, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh my God, look at this. The video. You are doing so much. Thank you. We are so honored to have you here. We're going to get right into it. We've got some great questions, and I want to start with everything about what you've been building with India's finest institutions, respected schools, state-of-the-art hospital, landmark cultural center, just to name a few. Talk to the audience today about enduring institutions and how do you keep raising the bar?
First and foremost, namaskar. I think in all the institutions I've made, I've just enjoyed working. I love my work so much. You know, we are guided by the principles and culture of Reliance, which is to work with compassion, work with passion, work with conviction, and make the best institutions and enterprises, not only in India, but in the world. And that has been the guiding principles of Reliance. For me, because I work from the heart of a teacher, I think I lead not by authority, but by empathy and compassionate listening. Talking about all the institutions, I think all the institutions that I've made till now come from a very personal space, almost sacred space. My father was critically ill for the last 5 years of his life. And as a daughter and as family, I endured what thousands of families do. The sleepless nights, the unanswered questions, the endless prayers. I realized that you needed care, not only for the patients, but you needed to deal with the families in an empathetic way, because they too suffer so much. And that was the seed that I started the Reliance Foundation Hospital, where healthcare is accessible and affordable by all, and respect for life is our motto. We are now building a new 1,000-bedded hospital in the heart of Mumbai with the same philosophy.
Well,
The school.
Time has,
Can I-
has named you one of the most important, influential people in philanthropy in the world in 2025. And clearly what you just said is the validator of that.
Can
yeah.
Can I talk about my school?
Yes, talk about your school.
I'm sorry, I'm going to take a little while. Yeah, can I talk about the school, which I'm so passionate about? You know, 30 years ago, my son Akash started going to school, and it was a terrifying experience for him. He was so unhappy going to school. And I remember for one whole year, I sat outside under a tree because he just felt comfortable seeing me after every 1 hour. He cried every day to go to school, and as a mother, it broke my heart. And as a teacher, it bothered me and made me very unhappy because learning should be a joy. To gain knowledge should be a pleasurable activity for all children. And that's how I set up the school in Mumbai. It was the first international school, one of the first international schools. And nobody believed in my idea except for my husband, Mukesh. And I bought land in one of the remotest suburbs of Mumbai. So much so that one of my family's closest friends and advisors said, on the opening of the school, said, you made one of the best schools, but who's going to come here? It's in the middle of nowhere. 20 years after that, that area is one of the most valuable and busiest hubs of Mumbai. It's also a place where the Nita Mukesh Ambani Cultural Center stands. And our school in 20 years has been ranked as the #1 school in India and the top 15 international schools in the world. But it's really not the ranking that we are working for, but it's the ripple effect. Thousands of new schools, hundreds of new schools have come up. Thousands of children are now in a school where learning is a pleasure and teaching a joy. And there's a paradigm shift in the education system in India. So I think that's what one school has done. And sorry, one last. I must talk about one more personal experience, and that's the Nita Mukesh Ambani Cultural Center that we opened 3 years ago. I've been a dancer, a classical dancer, ever since I think I'm 5 years old. And dancing has been my passion. It's my connection to divinity. So when I was supposed to give my Arangetram, which is the first ceremonial dance performance for a classical dancer, my father was trying to find a stage where I could do the Arangetram. And unfortunately, he couldn't afford any. And I did it in a temple in Mumbai. And I think maybe that time the seeds of the cultural center was sown in. And today, the Nita Mukesh Ambani Cultural Center is made to promote artists, and especially promote young artists, amateur artists, give them the platform, and not only from biggest cities of India, but we get artists to perform from the remotest towns and villages of India. So I think the Nita Mukesh Ambani Cultural Center is to spotlight on these artists of India.
Congratulations. I want to switch the subject to India, which is entering a moment of extraordinary global visibility. And from where you sit, and from what we just heard, what role do you see India playing in shaping the world, not just now, but over the next few decades?
I just see today we are living in a world that is so different and changing constantly. I think science, technology, AI has changed the way we live, we learn, we connect, we create. But yet, I mean, I watch the news every day. There's so much turmoil. There's so much destruction. There's so much hatred. I just feel that the world does not need any hard power. It needs soft power. A power that can heal. A power that is compassionate, that wants to unite rather than divide. And I feel India is that soft power. We have a civilizational legacy of 5,000 years, where spirituality, yoga, so many things we have given to the world, including technology. So therefore, what better platform than today to say, India's time has come.
Okay, now I get to put you on the spot for a moment with a few rapid fire questions. Before I go through them, I just want to say, as the CEO of Time, it is a great honor and privilege for you to tell these stories on our stage and to have Time tell these stories with and for you. So I'm very grateful.
Thank you, Jess. It's lovely to be here.
And sorry the weather's cold. Teaching or dancing? Got to choose one.
The heart of a teacher, always, and a soul of a dancer.
Okay, as a fashion icon yourself, New York, London, or Paris?
India with our weaves. Please, I take this opportunity, please visit our artisans outside. They've carried the rich legacy of India with them all the way from the remotest villages of India here to New York for you.
Okay, leadership. Instinct or data?
For me, it's instinct. For my husband, it's data.
Perfect couple. Oh, this is a hard one. I'm sorry. Your proudest achievement? I know there's so many.
I think I've raised 3 wonderful, kind, compassionate, hard-working children.
I think I know the answer to this one, working with your team. Most productive hours of the day, morning or evening?
Not morning, not evening, it's night.
Yes, aware. I say that with joy. And better time zones here in New York. Okay, your legacy in one word.
There's so much to be done as yet. I've not even thought of legacy. Maybe compassion? Compassion.
Thank you. Nita.
Thank you.
Wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you, for being here, and thank you for doing this. it's a really big topic that we have and not that much time. So I'm going to begin, if I might, by just trying to set the stage a little bit about where all of you stand on this. And AI is in every conversation, whether it's the economy, energy, geopolitics. But it seems to me that a lot of that conversation swings a bit like a pendulum. On the one hand, oh my God, all of us are going to lose our jobs, especially people like me, journalists, right? Or the other side, which is this is all good and great. It'll solve cancer, make business much better. So if I could ask you, starting perhaps with you, Navrina, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I need a new career, 10 being this is a force for good which will help us solve our most intractable problems, where do you stand?
Well, so great to be here. And of course, you're starting with the hardest question. Coming from trust and governance, I would say my answer might surprise you because I'm a solid 9. And the reason for that 9 is not because of AI, it's because of us. And what I mean by that is, at Credo AI, we spend a lot of time putting guardrails, controls, how can we actually get confidence in this technology? And yes, we think deeply about what can go wrong with AI. But something that I encourage my team to think about is, how can we get this right? And that optimism needs a lot of discipline. It needs investment in AI, trust. It needs investment in leadership so that we can actually reskill and retrain people. And it needs a lot of confidence that you can actually put the right guardrails in place. So solid 9, I believe we can get it right, and we will make it get it right.
So 9 with a caveat. We'll
9 with a caveat.
Glenn?
Well, thank you very much for having us here. And that is an interesting question. I think it really depends on where you sit in the world, because I assure you, yesterday my plumber came to help with a problem we had. He is not worried about a droid plumber coming in and replacing his job at all. Not happening. No, not in his lifetime. But on the other hand, though, there are people right now, we all know, who are losing their jobs because of AI replacement. So for them, it's incredibly important. Now, from us, as the world's largest travel company, this is an incredible great tool for us to make travel better for everybody. Everybody here travels. Every one of you, I know, has had a terrible experience traveling. You've had terrible trouble putting something together, putting together what you want. And you know, and I know, that AI is going to make travel so much better, and we're doing that right now. But I understand if people start losing their jobs, they don't have money to travel, that'd be really bad for us. So I'll do the really decisive thing and say somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle, so 5, 6.
Yeah, 5, yeah.
Clara?
I think the way you frame it is maybe one of our challenges right now is that it's too extreme. It's either everything is wonderful or AI doomerism. And I think the opportunity ahead, the reality ahead, is somewhere more in the middle. We are living right now through the biggest reorganization of human labor ever. It's faster than the Industrial Revolution, it's faster than the internet, and there's no equivalent to the GI Bill or to the union yet defined. And so the answer to your question is it depends on us. And if you ask Gen Z today, the answer doesn't look good. Gen Z is entering the worst job market in 37 years. Over half of Gen Z are either underemployed, not utilizing their college degree, or unemployed entirely. We all know a young person like this. And my friend Samantha is a great example. She graduated from UC Berkeley with honors a couple of years ago. She interned at Tesla and Warner Brothers. And for nearly a year, she was unemployed, applying to 10 jobs a day. I mean, we all know young people like this. The system is not okay, but we can still choose a better ending. And I think it starts with a lot of the incredible leaders in this room.
So 4 or 6?
I want us to do something about it, and if we do, AI has an opportunity to address so much of the inequality and so much of the anger that is currently in our society.
So Glenn, you were on the stage last year, and we had a chat then about AI and where it's going. It's been a year, so much has happened. It feels like something happens every hour almost, right? There's a new piece of news. You've been deploying AI at Booking. What has surprised you over the last year?
I think, well, I'm tempted to say the decline in our stock price due to the belief that AI is going to just replace us, but that we do not believe is going to happen. I'd say the speed with which new models have dropped, the way people can now use it, I mean, the fact is you cannot buy, do you know you can't buy a Mac Mini until August if you want because everybody went out to buy them so they could do their cloud coding on their own side hustle and stuff? That's amazing. And those things that a year ago we talked, I did not believe, I never even thought that the advancements that have happened would happen, and they have happened. And now we do see that people talked about agentic AI, and a year ago, that was people talked about it. Now people are doing it, and we're seeing incredible advancements in this. Now the issue goes back to your first question. What does that mean for us, for our society, for everyone? And nobody knows the answer, of course, everybody's just speculating. But I understand that people are concerned about it, and I think that's why we have people who are thinking about how should we do it, what should be the trust, what should be the guardrails.
So you've set me up nicely, because I was going to come to you, Navrina. As all these models have dropped, as we get news about the news about Mythos, for instance, right now from Anthropic, there has also been in parallel a conversation about the bounds of AI. Right, where we should put them, questions of safety, questions of trust, that I know you talk about a lot and spend a lot of time on. Are those two conversations diverging or converging? Is one feeding into the other or not really?
I think a lot depends upon context, organization, and leadership, and I think that's one of the reasons we all are here on this stage talking about it. The organizations that we are seeing actually winning in AI are not only winning because of innovation and capability, they're winning because they are putting in place very robust infrastructure around guardrails, reskilling, and really thinking about what does winning in this age of AI really look like. So I would say that it really depends upon context. Yes, I'm based out of Silicon Valley. There is let's move fast and break things mentality going on with a lot of startups. Are they going to be durable? And are they going to have sustainable innovation? I don't think so, unless they make trust a core focus for them as they're innovating.
Could I ask you, so how do you do that though? Because we'll switch on the news and there's a conference on AI safety, Paris last year, India this year. How do you make that an imperative for those startups?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I would say one is really understanding context of use. So as an example, if you're going to be deploying a lot of agents in customer service, you really need to define what does success mean. Is it reliable? Is it highly secure systems? Is it systems that are fair so that it can treat every customer with the same responses? So one is really context. The second is, I would say, not thinking about governance as a roadblock, but as a launchpad to AI innovation. And unfortunately, I've been in this space now for 6 years. We created the AI governance category, and every conversation, and I'm surprised you didn't start with that governance is a dirty word. I think that's the only way you can win in AI. And a lot of companies, especially in startups, there's this tension of innovation versus governance because they're like, I just need to get ahead of the next guy, right? And then the third thing is, I think it's a lot about values. So as a founder, and I loved what Clara said, because us as founders, we don't like to predict the future. We like to create it. And a big part of that is really betting on us that we are going to get this right. So the last part is really around values, thinking about the long term, but having that micro urgency right now to continue innovating and bringing capabilities.
One of the things that Navrina mentioned was reskilling, and which goes back to where you started about the question of jobs. You helped build AI at Meta, at Salesforce. You are now about to do something to address this problem. We'd like to hear what you're about to do, but I'd also like to ask you, how big is this problem, and do you see a solution in sight?
This is a massive problem because young people are the future of this country. And if they're not hired in meaningful work today, if they're not hireable today, that hurts everyone across the country and around the world. You can see there are really smart people like Navrina and so many others working on making AI safe and profitable for businesses. But who's doing this for regular people? Who's doing this for Samantha and for all the 25-year-olds out there who are unemployed? And so I think there's an incredible opportunity with AI. AI is part of the disruption. It's a big driver of the disruption, but it's also a big part of the solution. And really the only way to keep up with the pace of how quickly AI is changing is to use AI itself. And so I look out there today And it's a tale of two job seekers. For those Gen Z and otherwise who know AI, companies are fighting to hire them. For those who don't, though, and that's the majority of people, they're in a much tougher spot. And so I think Gen Z is so well positioned to learn AI really better than anyone else. Today, there's a gap with respect to a lot of Gen Z are concerned about AI, they're angry about AI, and so many are just boycotting it altogether, which really isn't doing them or society any favors, because those are the exact people I want being part of building the solution in a way that's thoughtful and good for society. And so what I'm launching today it's called the New Work Foundation, and it's a tech company, but it's a nonprofit. And our mission is to equip young American workers with the tools, the technology, and the information that they need to thrive in an economy that's being restructured by AI.
Great.
Wow.
Well, we all hope it works. How do you think about this, Glenn? Because you run a big organization, but you also have customers all over the world, right? You touched on this earlier. So if we're all going to be out of a job, we're not going on vacation.
Yeah, no, and we know that there's a great irony in that AI replacing jobs, but then there's no need for the AI if nobody has a job. So here's the thing that's interesting, and it's not only the difference in the US, where it's just talked about people who have different ways they're going to approach jobs, et cetera, but it's a global thing, and we operate very globally. We operate in almost every country in the world, and people are looking at different things, and people who are worried about jobs, et cetera, those places where people are not thinking AI, they're just thinking, how do I get off of my very menial job into a better job? Here's the problem is, and that is the areas where people would leave from poverty to a higher middle income were the routes that are now being taken away by AI. Now AI is taking away the ability of the more, let's call it, jobs that are relatively low education jobs. Those are being taken away, these automated jobs, so it's making it harder in the rest of the world. Customer service is a perfect example of this. So in the Philippines, a not insignificant amount of the GDP, I don't remember the exact number, but it's possibly maybe 10%, I'm guessing right now, is done by customer service. That's outsourced around the world. Now, we are currently at Booking Holdings, our companies, Booking.com, Priceline, et cetera, we transfer that customer service. Many of those calls now go to an AI system. The customers love it because it's faster. You're not on hold for an hour, and the bot knows exactly how to solve the problem. So that's wonderful for the customer. But that means that that person who's in the Philippines had a job now doesn't have that job anymore. And now, how do they enter the world of going up to better and better jobs? Because they don't have that starting point. That lowest rung on the ladder's been pulled away by AI. And what are we going to do about that? By the way, taxi drivers, look, how many people have been in a Waymo or equivalent? Those jobs going away where people, how many people, when's the last time you went in a taxi with a human being here and the person was a native-born American? Very rare. These are immigrants who've come to America. First job they got was being a taxi driver. Those jobs are going away. That's AI in action. Now, it's okay, because I love being in the Waymo. It's great, it was fun, it's enjoyable. What do we do about that person's job? And then go further up the scale. Go into your upper middle class or middle class driving a truck, a big truck, an 18-wheeler. That's a pretty darn good job. Pays very well. You didn't need to go to college to do it, and it's good. Those jobs are being eliminated by AI. And how are we going to help, and what are we going to do? So I'll push it over here.
I was waiting for that.
What do we do? How do we arrange this? What do we do societal so that we are able to help make this change, because it's happening so fast? In the past, we had these technological changes, jobs disappeared, but there was enough time for people to learn new jobs and go there. Now it's happening overnight, it seems.
So we don't need AI. Glenn's doing my job for me, because I was about to come to you. But on that thing of how we solve this, on that question, I'm thinking of other big global challenges, right? Say climate change, for instance. And one of the problems we run into, we have climate conferences, we have the COP conferences, is trying to get geopolitical actors who often have opposing interests to sign on the dotted line. How do you do it in this world?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
You bring all the hard questions for me, Nicole. It's very hard, because right now I think we have a massive challenge around incentive misalignment. There are actors working from AI optimism, innovation at all costs. There are actors acting from safety. There's this whole challenge of policy not keeping pace with AI innovation. It is a very hard problem. I think the way to solve for that is, we don't have all the answers, but let me propose a few. One is, becomes really critical for public-private partnership. And that's one of the key roles Credo AI plays in the ecosystem, where we work very closely with AI builders, the frontier labs, hyperscalers, but at the same time work with policymakers, regulators, to really sort of create the translation engine between the two. The second is, I think, really getting granular on what does success and what does good look like. But that's also very contextual. It depends upon every application, every sector. And that, I would say, is one of the hardest problems, defining what good looks like. And then the third is leadership. I think, to Glenn's point, what can we do? I think we should look to ourselves. What are we doing for our people when this massive disruption in jobs is going to happen, when we don't have a playbook that we can actually go and refer to, because there are no playbooks in AI right now? How do we enable reskilling? How do we think about the whole paradigm of learning and unlearning very quickly and experimenting fast with AI? And I think that is a very important job for the leaders here.
So Clara, on that question of leadership and solving some of these problems, or at least beginning to solve some of these problems, and forgive me for being blunt, but why should we trust the people who are building this technology?
You shouldn't. We have to earn the trust.
Right.
And I think that that's been the challenge with AI to date, is that it's been driven by profit maximization. And now we need an equally strong force, an equally ambitious group of people to have a different set of priorities and a different set of goals that we're optimizing for. I agree, leaders can do a lot, business leaders can do a lot. I know a CEO who has realized that he doesn't need a large percentage of his workforce, especially the entry level, because of the AI automation that they've rolled out. But he is choosing to slow roll that change and investing as much as he can to upskill those individuals so that he can keep as many as possible. And then even those he can't keep, they'll be better set up for their next thing. So these are the types of decisions that we all can make every day in the boardroom, in the executive team. And then I think at a national level, it's very difficult. This is a tough environment. We live in a very polarized system. And so I think, but don't lose hope. I think we can start small. And I think that Gen Z is hungry for this. They want people who are in their corner, who they know will not be monetizing them, but actually wanting to help them.
So we only have a few minutes left. So if I could end again with a question for all three of you. Let's say we convene a year from now, much as we did last year, Glenn, and I'm asking you, looking back on the year, whether it's been a success or whether it's been a failure when it comes to these big picture questions about AI. Start with you, Glenn. What would be a success for you, and what would be, let's say actually maybe missed opportunity a year from now?
Well, I'm hoping a year from now that we'll have rolled out some of the things we're working on right now that will make our mission, which is making it easier for everybody to experience the world, easier for everybody to experience the world. And by using AI to really bring things that people are so frustrated about, make those go away and make it easier. At the same time, the idea of upskilling our workforce, I absolutely believe that is a critical part of our business, is making sure my 25,000 people are prepared for the future, making sure we provide them with the tools, the learning, the training. So even if at some point we no longer need a certain part of the unit of our business, which has happened, we don't have manual translators anymore. All those people we had to let go because it was all done by AI. I want to make sure that their skills are increased enough so they can get a different job at another place and be successful. That'd be what I think is success.
Clara, what about you?
I believe the next 12 months are critical. AI models are progressing at a rate faster than I think most people realize. But a lot can happen in 12 months. And so I would like us to come back here, and I'd like us to see the numbers change from last week's Gallup poll, which showed 31% of Gen Z feeling angry toward AI. I want instead Gen Z to feel hopeful about AI and actively using it and learning it, because that's really the only way to thrive in this upcoming economy.
Navrina?
A year from now, I would say success would mean that we have invested equally in trust and governance as we have in AI innovation. And after, I would say this, how it would look like is there's a higher, I would say, trust in AI, higher trust and confidence in the applications that everyone is deploying AI in.
Well, we're going to have you back in a year.
Yes.
On that note, thank you very much. And thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Hi, you guys. Hello, fellow human beings.
Hi.
Don't we love, Maria, that Lewis was our opening act for us? We like that.
Don't you love that?
We both love
a
Lewis
little
Hamilton.
Lewis.
Guys, this is such a big day for Maria. It's not my birthday. It's not your birthday. It's not your son's birthday. Why is this such a big day for you?
I'm launching a podcast today.
Today is
It's
her first
called
day of her
Pretty Tough.
podcast.
Yes. Pretty Tough is out in the world. It's something I've been working on with Vox Media for over a year. So it's pretty crazy that this is the day. And I'm doing it with you. What an honor.
No, and doing it with all of you. But
are.
before we get started, we just give you a little tease of what Maria's thinking. Roll tape, please.
Ooh. Humble, but not quiet. Fierce, but not brash. Open-minded, but not uncertain. Beautiful, but not fragile. Powerful, angry, complicated, successful, imperfect. We're told these are in opposition to each other, when in reality, it's the multitudes that make us. For so much of my career, I heard that I couldn't embody all of these things. I couldn't be gritty on the court and be graceful off of it. I couldn't exist in all those spaces. And women are constantly hearing that, faced with skeptics trying to put them in a box, and voices asking, do you have permission to do that? That's how this podcast originated. I want to talk to the women who gave themselves permission to ride and do and believe in more than just what others think of them. And that's exactly what Pretty Tough is about, the pursuit of achievement without apology.
I love, don't we love that tagline, guys? I'm going to say it again. Pursuit of achievement without apology. Kelsey Ballerini has a great song. It's called Unapologetically. And it's about a love song. I'm unapologetically in love with this guy. I don't care what anybody says. I'm here to win. And so I'm wondering, was there a time in your life where you apologized and you thought, why did I do that? Why did I apologize?
So from a young age, I had a very steely mentality. I had a fist pump that I was really known for. And I'd get off the court and I'd be in press conferences and everyone would say, but it's so intimidating. You need to soften your edges. Can you add a filter? And there was a part of me that wanted to apologize for that because I was a lady and everyone wanted to see me in that light. But Pretty Tough was my mentality and I didn't apologize for it.
No, I love, can you soften your images? Can you soften your edges? Because there was a time when you were a very successful tennis player and you got the reputation of being ice queen. Some said, bitch.
Yep, and all of that.
Some,
all the above.
Some said the B word. Did you
Not
worry?
the only one.
Yeah. I didn't say it, they said it.
They did.
But did you worry about
You reinstated it.
Did you worry about people's perception of you on and off the court?
You know, I wasn't, because I was so focused on doing something I deeply loved. Like, I love being an athlete. It was a huge part of my identity. When I woke up in the morning and I put on my sportswear, that was my shield. Like, that was my armor. And everyone, my opponent, everyone in the player lounges on the court was like in the way of my success, and I was determined. And I think I did have to pay the price of that with those taglines, as you mentioned, but they got me incredible victories because I was determined and focused.
Yeah, you know, Lizzo has new music coming out, and one of the songs is called Bitch. And she says, I'm going to reclaim it because you can say bitch, you could say bitch, you could say bitch. You know, she says there's many ways. And she said, I'm going to reclaim the word. And just earlier this week, guys, if you
I'm not going to try to sing bitch.
We'll leave that to her. It's actually a good song. But earlier this week in an op-ed for your Substack, you wrote, bitch, the label every ambitious woman knows. What was your message there?
I've come across many women, my friends, co-workers, that really related to the subject. And, you know, I retired a few years ago and I had my son, and I felt like that as I was building this platform and building the brand of Pretty Tough, the message really resonated with women. And this podcast is for women, by women. The first 12 to 13 episodes are all women. We launched with Zoe Saldana this morning, who's an incredible human being. We've
Oscar
got
winner, yeah.
Oscar winner, Jeannie Buss next week. So it's a phenomenal lineup of people that I admire. And by the way, I'm now on the other side of it. I used to answer questions.
Yes.
Now I've got like documents in my hand, and I'm doing
how do you
prep
like that, Ms.
I love it.
Sharapova?
I love it because there's something about being an athlete where every day you're like on a cliff. You can be as confident as you want to be, but when the net goes up, you don't know if you're going to win or lose. You can be so ready and prepared or unprepared, and they put up the net, and you can be 100 in the world, number 1 in the world. You still have to go out and perform and hopefully win, but it doesn't always happen. And that's why we love sports so much.
Well, you have, say it again, how many Grand Slams?
5.
And last year you were inducted into?
The Hall of Fame.
Yes, okay. Just saying. Now, bravo, go you. That's not a surprise you were inducted, but what was a surprise is the jaws friggin' dropped on the floor when you asked Serena Williams to induct you.
Yeah.
Why? Because you guys had such a intense rivalry.
I wouldn't have called it a rivalry. She kicked my ass many times. I think we can all confirm that in this room. But
she might have kicked your ass, but the reason why so many no, I'm going somewhere with this, guys.
We came into we were in backstage, and she's like, we're gonna mix it up today.
We are
this
not
is not
going to
gonna
be the boring
panel.
We are not.
So.
But one of the reasons why so many people knew you, Wimbledon, you beat Serena Williams. She was 17 at Wimbledon. You beat Serena Williams, and that was one of the highlights of your career, and she says it was one of the hardest of hers.
Yes.
And so every time she said, I always upped my game when I was playing you. It was very tough. So there were times when it was tense, but you asked her to introduce you, and she said yes, but why did you pick her?
She was the first person that came to mind. I had some of the toughest moments and some of the biggest victories on the court against Serena. And at the end of the day, we have so much deep respect for each other, and there was no one that I wanted to see other than her up on stage, and I had to make that phone call. And she picked
called her
up.
personally yourself?
I called her personally.
You had her number?
I had her number.
Okay. And so
since we retired, we got very close.
And so she says hello, and you say.
Well, I first texted her because I didn't want to call her and she doesn't pick up, and I'm like, rejection. So I texted her. She calls me in right away. We spoke for over an hour.
Wow.
And we didn't even touch upon the Hall of Fame until the last 5 minutes.
Wow.
We talked about our careers, our lives, our children, our businesses. We invest a lot. We look at this. We have the same deal flow. So, yeah. And then at the end of it, I was, oh, by the way, would you induct me into the Tennis Hall of Fame? And it was, and she prepared for that induction like a true athlete.
Yes.
She interviewed me at a different time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she had notes. So
she did not just phone it in.
No.
She wanted to do you justice.
No, and nobody knew. No, like not even my father, who was sitting right next to me before she came on stage. It was.
You didn't tell your dad she was gonna?
No. I didn't tell anyone. I wanted it to be a big surprise for everyone. And
I know, but let's think about.
And I felt it in the room.
Oh, it was such a shocker. But let's talk about your dad, because your family moved you and your dad. Your mom stayed behind, visa issues. Your dad came, you guys had very little money. Neither one of you spoke English.
No.
And I'm thinking, you didn't tell your dad. What was that like for you at that time? You and your dad coming, we're going to conquer tennis.
Yeah, I was under my father's wing for many years. We moved to this country at the age of 7 without my mom because she couldn't get a visa. We landed in Miami airport with a big dream and took a lot of chances, and so many things could have gone wrong, and many things did. But ultimately, we're very fortunate. But I love the path I was on. I love being different. I love being unique. I woke up every morning at 5:30 a.m. I was first in line in every class that I took. I worked my butt off for it, but I love the process. I now have a son, and he's 3.5, and it's interesting to see how oftentimes they want to be part of the pack, and I always encourage them to be unique, right? To engage in things that are different to their peers in their group and stand out. There's nothing bad about it.
At all. Do you think that tennis gave you the discipline that you needed to build the empire that you have today?
100%. It gave me so many lessons, determination, teamwork, resilience. I mean, every single day you learned a lesson. Because you lose. You lose so much more than you win, in
Yeah,
sport,
that's
right?
true.
So you have to handle, how do you get in a press conference? How do you keep your composure? How do you answer tough questions? How do you get to the hotel room and the bellman says he's bought a ticket for your next match and you have to, say, I'm sorry, I lost today. Like how, just handling, having a strong composure.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
The bellman would say that, yeah. And then you feel you let someone down that you don't even know.
Well, you realize it's a whole network. Like your team, your coach, their family schedule during the year is dependent on your success.
Oh God, I hadn't thought about it that way. I'm curious about athletes of your caliber and when it comes to competition. I interviewed Michael Jordan recently, who hasn't been on a basketball court in a long time, but he says
you're getting some great interviews. Lizzo,
knock on wood. But
great to
let
be
me
Gayle
let me give you a bit of advice. Groveling is very effective. I asked Michael Jordan for over 10 years before he finally said yes, but that's a whole other story.
I might put my podcast studio right next to your studio so that they could
groveling, very effective. But what he said that I thought was interesting, he said, you never lose a competitive spirit. He said, even now, he's on the basketball court, but he's really huge into NASCAR. He's a NASCAR owner. They're killing it. They just won this last weekend.
Yeah.
But he said even something as simple as brushing his teeth before his wife, getting dressed before his wife, taking the kids to school. I go, Michael, are you okay? He said, you never lose a competitive spirit. And I'm wondering how that is for you in terms of competition.
Yeah. I don't pump my fist as often as I did.
You don't?
Maybe when my husband changed the diaper, I was like, yeah. But
you're not in a boardroom.
I'm certainly softer, and I don't play that much. So I find things that keep my body active, and movement is such a big part of my life. But in different forms, like
you don't play that much.
I don't.
Do you
I know
not even for fun.
Well, I discussed this with Zoe Saldana because she used to be an incredible dancer and she danced ballet, and we're discussing how, with age, our body loses tension and that physique, and all of a sudden we knew what our body felt like at the top of our careers, right? And it just doesn't feel quite there. And so why don't we do things that kind of, I don't know, that exposes our better sides?
Yes, your better side. Let's talk about Maria Sharapova as a mom. You said what's your son's name?
Theo.
Do you call him Theo?
Oh, yeah. Theodore.
Is that Theodore?
It depends. On a good day, it's Theo. On a tough day, it's Theodore.
3.5-year-olds don't have tough days. It's such a great age.
Oh, really? Well, the moms do.
Yes, the moms do.
The moms.
They don't.
Sorry, the dads too, but
the dads
the moms.
But they're so, well, you know what I mean. They're so chatty and they're so fun. I loved every stage of parenthood. Every single stage.
It's the best job, and it's the best and the toughest job in the world.
So Theo won't have seen you back on the tennis court.
No.
What will you tell him about your fame, what you used to do? How will you explain this to him?
It's not like my past and my career is not something that like if you come to my home or even during my career, like you probably wouldn't have known that I was an athlete.
You didn't have
trophies? I had boundaries and I separated, like I poured everything in it. But then when I would come home or I'm with my family or I'm traveling around the world, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
So one of the best things about my life was I got to take meetings with incredible people and incredible brands. I got to learn. I got to take classes at Harvard. I got to take internships with Adam Silver at the NBA.
Don't we love Adam Silver?
Oh, he's fantastic.
He's one of the
Go
true...
Lakers. Sorry.
Yes,
I know we're in New York, but
go Knicks. He's one of the true. Yes, go Knicks.
I know. They had a tough
game. He is one of the great human beings. But you and your partner Alex are raising Theo. What will you tell him? What will you tell your favorite son about girls?
Oh, about girls.
Yes.
Trust your instinct.
Trust your instinct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it never leads you to a wrong place. Yeah, I think I always hesitated on, we're torn, we have so many opinions, and the world, I think, is so fragmented and everyone has their own opinion, but don't forget about your own.
Yes, trust your gut, that will never lead you wrong.
Yeah.
And final question, because the clock is counting down.
Oh,
I said,
no.
Gayle, you have to stick to time.
Oh, no.
It's very difficult when you're talking to Maria Sharapova.
I know, let's just, yeah.
But you have 5 Grand
going.
Slams, as we've mentioned a couple of times. Is there anything in life that brings you as much excitement as a Grand Slam?
Sadly, not that match point feeling. There's nothing that, it's like a melting pot of so many things coming together, of hard work, of perseverance, of having a great team around you. And that final moment and a little bit of luck all bubbled into a few seconds of joy. No, There's nothing like it, you know? But that's okay. Yeah, it's okay to have those. That's what sport is all about, and that's why we are so invested in athletes and leagues and teams and rivalries, because that's the special thing of sport.
Well, I will wish this for you because you are such a badass. I admire you so much. On your launch day of your podcast, we're all cheering you on.
Thank you.
What's the name of it again?
Pretty Tough.
Pretty Tough. Maria Sharapova.
Thank you so much.
Kate, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. What an honor.
Let's get right into it.
Cool.
So in 2001, you were nominated for an Academy Award for your role in Almost Famous. 25 years later, earlier this year, you were nominated again for Song Sung Blue.
Yeah.
What felt different this time, and what felt the same?
I'm less symmetrical. And, you know, it was, what felt wonderful about it was now the history that I've had with so many people that I've been able to work with, and, you know, 2 decades of being in Hollywood and having great relationships, and then actually experiencing that warmth versus the first time where I just was like being shot out of a cannon, you know?
Right.
My career had just started, and then I'm sort of, it was like a big invitation to like the party, you know, on steroids. But both times were a whirlwind, you know? That hasn't changed, which was actually quite comforting, that not so much has changed, even though we think maybe it has.
Right, right.
Like the business is still very similar, and the way, you know, the way people work the rooms is really similar, and it kind of made me happy that things haven't gone so different, you know, haven't, you know, that it still feels like the same business.
That makes sense. And you've been working for a long time, and I wanted to ask because when I was researching you, I found often you're described as kind of underrated or underestimated. I saw that a lot in the press for Song Sung Blue. Do you agree with that? Do you think that's held you back? Do you like that estimation?
I don't really think about myself that often. So
probably helps.
I think, yeah, I mean, I do in therapy, you know, but I don't like, I think I actually appreciated what I think that first started with Clayton, who's a writer at Variety, who's wonderful and was a great champion of mine and has been forever. And I really appreciated what he was saying in that interview. And I never read interviews, but someone sent it to me, and that actually, his article made me feel good. It made me feel very seen. But on top, but I think I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really sit and reflect on that much. I just think that what I know is that what I do requires me to actually get hired. And so if I'm not getting hired, I'm not going to be able to do the things that I would love to be able to pursue. And our industry as an actor is very much about what you know, as my father would always say, you're one job away from a shift. And I think that happens all the time. And our business is so tumultuous. Like growing up in it, you kind of see it for what it is. It's like, you know, 1 minute, you know, you're getting offered everything. And the next minute, you're like, why aren't I getting offered everything? And then, you know, and it's constant. It's that constant roller coaster. So when anybody's writing an article about me, it's probably a good sign, no matter what it's saying.
It means you're relevant.
It means I might have a couple more years of getting hired. But I appreciated Clayton's, where that kind of stemmed from. I really did.
Yeah. Well, I want to take a second and watch a clip. And it's from Running Point, which is your Mindy Kaling comedy.
Yes.
We've got some fans in the house. It has a very funny second season that's premiering tomorrow on Netflix.
I'm so excited.
So let's go ahead and watch.
Oh, Justin Theroux's the best. Oh. We're so excited Cam's back. I mean, I don't know if anybody's watched the first season. You should. It's really fun. But the second season is just, it's wild.
And you've got some good guest stars in there too.
Great ones, yeah.
But I want to talk about that clip because what I love about it is it really playfully mirrors something that I think happens to women all the time in the workplace and in different industries, and I would imagine even in Hollywood. You get this job, you get this promotion, you get this moment, and then it turns out maybe you didn't actually get it, or maybe someone else is trying to take control. Have you experienced that? Has a man tried to take credit for the work that you've done?
I would love to know any woman in the world that's not ever had that experience. I feel like it happens in daily life, like every second. But I don't, I feel like I give grace, because I think that it's been challenging. For as challenging as it's been for women, we're used to the challenge, right? But I think also like the shift is challenging, and I give a little grace for those moments, but it is so prevalent, so exists, all the time. I mean, I'm not someone who likes to share my personal experiences, because I like keeping those things private. And but every time someone asks me this question, I kind of love that I know that there's men out there who know that I'm thinking about them right now. But yes, I've definitely had similar experiences to that.
And you have to find a way to laugh through it.
I think having a sense of humor gets you through everything. And I don't know if that's because that's how I was raised, but I think when we lose our sense of humor or our ability to laugh at ourselves, we lose sight of something that's so important to be able to get through this crazy world. And I think laughter is the most healing thing in the world. And in order to really laugh, you've got to be able to take some hits, And which means that every day at work, I take a lot of hits from these guys. They're always coming at me.
But you're still standing.
You're still standing, yeah.
And I wanted to ask about this in the context of another movie that I think we'll have some fans of, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, a classic.
Yes.
Reading about the movie, I don't think I realized how much you pushed for the right writer. You were really instrumental in getting Matthew McConaughey cast in that movie. Is that something you've done on other films, that kind of type of production, that type of pushing, that type of shaping the art?
Such a great question. I grew up with an amazing mother, and she was the first female star in Hollywood to really set out to produce her own movies, and she had to fight for everything. In my mind, that's just like how you do things, right? So growing up, it was like, oh no, you go in and you fight for what you think is right, or if you have a feeling, like you don't stop until you at least understand each other and can get something done. You don't realize until you're in the position how it's seen, right? When you actually have the confidence, for me being so young at that time, having the confidence to say, I appreciate if this is how you want to do this movie, and you can make that movie, but I don't want to make that movie. And I didn't realize how that kind of confidence is seen from another perspective. And I think because I had this sort of ability or kind of modeling, it only was later when I actually started to feel more timid. Because I think that when you start to do those things, you can develop a reputation of being difficult, or especially for women, you're in a position where they're like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. And then you kind of start to get a little bit like, okay, well, I got to figure out a different way in, or a different method, or then you start to be like, this is so exhausting. I'd rather just show up to work and hit my mark. And so I think you go through these, like everything else, these sort of roller coaster ride, or these peaks and valleys of feeling like this ultra boost of confidence and self-importance, which I think happens to a lot of smart and successful people, that they kind of feel like, oh, well, my word is the only word. And then you get a little humbling, and then all of a sudden you get a little fear, and then, you go through that roller coaster. 2 decades later, now looking back at all of it, I think that the fight is really important. It's much more important than waiting to just get a job and stand on your mark.
Right.
So yes, so I did fight for a lot of those things, and then I did get timid, and then I think after COVID, I kind of hit this place in my life where I was like, kind of tired of waiting around now. I've been doing a lot of waiting around, and I kind of think I need to be the narrator of my own story and do the things and be courageous enough to say no, and then to do the things that I'm really passionate about and not be afraid of, what if it's going to be received well or not,
It makes sense. And one thing I've noticed from your biography is you've done a lot of things outside of acting. You've had various businesses with Fabletics, you've written books, you released an album recently, you've done a lot of different wellness projects. Getting some claps for the music. Yeah. Is there a world in which you don't act and you focus on those different projects?
I think that's part of what well, first of all, I'm an Aries. I get bored really fast. So diversifying my own life is really important to me. But really what was, like Fabletics, for instance, was something that was really interesting because at that time, people weren't really doing that, where actresses weren't really starting their own companies and things. And I took kind of a bet on that for when other people thought I should be endorsing sort of, bigger, Gucci or, a more luxury brand, I decided to want to make affordable leggings. And I don't know, I've always had this like gut thing. I was like, I want to be home, I want to be with my kids. The dads are off touring the world, being musicians. I want to be at home. And so I just decided to do that in that time in my life. And I also, relying on our industry is pretty scary as an actor. So how do I figure out, what can be more stable for myself? And so that got me into more business-oriented things. And then I realized that I am not an operator. Operating, I'm more of a creative. That running a business is a grind.
Sure.
And it takes a lot of people, and it's a lot of bureaucracy. And I just wanted to write music. And I was like, I really love leggings, guys, but I, want to like pivot out of that. And we got to a really great place. And that's really been a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to focus on my creative life. So yeah, doing different things, yes, I will always want to do different things, but I think I'm a creative. I'm an ADD right-brained creative, and that's where I'm happiest. So that's why I think I'll always kind of lean into that,
But you'll still be doing the businesses.
I mean,
seems like you
if I get a creative outlet, I just need someone operating my life. Is anybody out here ADD? Like, it's hard for the brain to like focus. And I feel like, I can be 100 different places at once as long as I have an executive assistant who can be like, no, I must steer you into the other direction where you're supposed to be today. That is really helpful for me. But I do love being. I do like looking outside and wondering what the next thing is. It's just something that I enjoy. Yeah.
Well, I want to end with one more running point question. Okay. So one of my favorite things about the show is you have many very funny co-stars, and that includes some new people on the new season. So I want to end with the speed round. I'm going to run you through some co-stars. Give me whatever pops into your head.
Okay, great.
So let's start with someone who's on season 2, Ray Romano.
Oh, pro, awesome, wonderful, sweet, funny, constantly. Wait, is that what you asked? Am I supposed to just say whatever?
You're doing great. Keep going.
I'm ADD, so you're gonna have to stop me. Okay. I mean, funny and literally, does not do the same thing twice, and every time it's hilarious. He's so wonderful, and we got so lucky to have him on the show.
Anne Hathaway.
Oh, Annie. I mean, of the moment.
I know.
Devil Wears Prada 2, go see it. And Justin Theroux, also on our show, is in Devil Wears Prada 2. I'm so excited to see that. Annie, smart, caring, intentional, and honestly just self-deprecating and beautiful and a good friend. She's a good girl.
That's great. A little bit of a wild card, Jake from State Farm.
Oh. By the way, the most famous person to come on our set. Everybody was like, is that Jake from State? Yeah, oh, he's on season 2 for any point. Everybody's like, is that Jake from State Farm? And I'm like, it is. I know Jake from State Farm. Yeah, that was really fun.
He's pretty famous.
He's such a nice guy. I think it was his first time actually being on a show, or I feel very excited that we were his first cameo on something. But yeah, Jake from State Farm.
Jake from State Farm.
Kind, nice, down for anything.
That's great. Catherine Hahn. Multiple co-star movies.
I love her so much.
I love Catherine Hahn. Catherine Hahn, okay. Hilarious, loving, nuts, and beautiful, amazing mother. She's a great partner. She's a seriously great friend. She's a soulmate type of friend for me. I love her so much. She roots for the best version of everybody, you know? It's like even someone who you might be like, no, don't root for that person. She's like, I am rooting for them. she's just, every ounce of her is goodness. And I love Catherine Hahn.
That's lovely. Okay.
I could work with her over and over and over again.
2 more, if you'll indulge me.
Okay.
Billy Crudup.
Hot. Hot, fun, intense, funny. Like, Billy is one of the funny, I mean, and I know that, I don't know if, you know, from afar you wouldn't think he'd be one of the funniest people. I know a lot of funny people, but Billy's sense of humor, he's one of the funniest people I've ever met. He's incredibly witty and bright and dry and handsome. Another great parent. He's a great dad. And he's a great husband to my friend Naomi, and I love him.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, last one, Matthew McConaughey.
He always ends up being the last one. Okay. Hot. Matthew is unique. He is the most unique, wonderful, he's spontaneous, unpredictable man I've ever worked with. He's competitive in the best ways. He is so much fun to laugh with. He's down for anything. I love how unpredictable he is, because I feel like I love, you know, anybody who's unpredictable, like I want to hang around because I'm down too. So, you know, and then at the same time, he's really protective. Another great father. He's a beautiful partner to Camilla. He's a really good, great family man. And he cares deeply about his work, but mostly about the human condition and finding inner peace, or at least contentment. And we connect on that very much. And yeah, Matthew's a really unique, special person.
Kate, I could play this game all day.
I could too.
Unfortunately, we have to go, but thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, so we were all just backstage and we all learned how many hours we all sleep. It's all not enough, according to Arianna. We all have our tips. So it's great to be here at the TIME100 Summit, and great to be talking to 3 leaders about transformation. But only one of you guys actually has transformation in your title. I believe you are the Chief Transformation Officer, as well as the CEO of Latin America. So I'll start with you, Athina. And just, you know, PepsiCo it's a brand and a company that goes back more than 60 years. So
how do you approach a transformation like we're in right now around AI with kind of boring consumer products and a brand that's been around so long? No offense.
No offense. Well,
when I think AI, I don't think
no,
like
no.
cans of Pepsi.
I can change your mind.
Okay, good. Tell me.
Right? So firstly, transformation for PepsiCo is a cultural transformation. To your point, we are a company that has been around for decades. So we have a certain way of cultural engagement with the consumer, a lot of around the heritage of the brand. You grow up with the brand. But now we know consumers are fast changing. So taking that historical cultural transformation and emotional attachment and take that to the next era, which is AI-led with omnichannel consumer experiences, or faster innovation on how we change our products. I mean, you interviewed Ramon a couple of weeks ago in the earnings. Our portfolio transformation powered by the technology, faster cycles of innovation or R&D, is now paying dividends if you were to see of how we are growing the US and the rest of the world. So technology is for us an enabler of transformation on three things. One is the consumer engagement model. You have to be always and everywhere where consumers want to engage with you in platforms of choice. The portfolio transformation we have, allowing for permissibility and functionality, nutrition, hydration, so trends that historically you wouldn't associate PepsiCo with across the globe. And I would say the third big transformation is how we transform the operations of the company. We are still a company which operates in 200 markets, massive fleet, massive facilities, factories. So how are we creating operations that are leveraging robotics, industrial AI, where we are giving the power to our associates to drive decisions much faster? That's the third angle of transformation.
I do want to get into AI more, and we should talk about it during this panel. But Matt, also want to get to you on transformation because you came into Stitch Fix a few years ago, 2023. The company was struggling, and you've really turned things around. So how do you approach that, especially at a time where the way we shop and everything going on with AI is also changing the experience?
Yeah, for me, I think that the healthy state of a corporation is in a state of transformation. And that if you're not perpetually trying to reinvent yourself, trying to continue to strengthen your business, then you're going to fall behind. I see companies all the time, they think they've completed a transformation or reinvention, they plant the flag, they put it into cruise control, and they're really just heading to being obsolete. And what we're doing at Stitch Fix is making sure that we're constantly challenging ourselves, constantly trying to reinvent ourselves, and we're doing that in a few different ways. The first is, how do we lean into what are our unique characteristics? What are the things that differentiate us, and how can we deepen that competitive mode and invest in those areas? The second is, how do we know our clients so deeply and so personally that we can understand not necessarily just what they want today, but what they will want in the future? And then finally, our responsibility is to look forward, not to look left or right, not to look at what the competition is doing, but for us to look ahead in terms of where the market is going so that we can be there before anyone else. And when you do this, you do it in any industry, but in apparel retail, that enables us to take that leadership, that competitive advantage, and ensure that we're creating a superior experience. And then we have to continue to challenge ourselves and reinvent in perpetuity going forward.
And the company's growing again.
The company is growing, yes.
There's green shoots. Arianna, I mean, you've reinvented yourself through business. Thrive is hard to believe it's 10 years old, right? This year?
10 years old, yes.
10 years old. So how do you think about the changes? I know you've also recently launched an AI product. How do you keep yourself on your toes, transforming but also growing businesses?
Well, what is interesting, Thrive was built on the power of 5 daily behaviors to affect our health and productivity, making the connection between well-being and health and productivity, not seeing them as separate, but seeing them as a productivity multiplier. So the 5 behaviors being food, sleep, movement. We don't even call it exercise because millions of people in this country don't move. If you hear exercise, you think I don't believe it. You think going to the gym for an hour.
He doesn't sleep either, by the way.
No, but he's a short sleeper. Come on, don't shame him.
It's a genetic thing, apparently, right? Where you're
He's
allowed to only sleep 4 hours a night.
he has a genetic mutation, which is actually a good thing. 1.5% of the population in the world have a genetic mutation, and you have it. We're going to check it. We're going to do a
I knew I would
blood
regret
test,
sharing
but
that
we think he has
backstage.
it. Anyway, stress management and connection. These are the 5 behaviors. We've never been a consumer product. We are B2B. We work with big companies like Salesforce, like Walmart, etc. But when we're talking about transformation, it's really seeing where the world is going, seeing how the zeitgeist is changing. And 2.5 years ago, we started working with pharma, going directly to their consumers. Now, that was a huge shift. You know, pharma is transforming itself with Eli Lilly, which is now the biggest pharma company in the world, $1 trillion, leading the way across consumer engagement, moving from having a transactional relationship with a consumer, I sell you my drug and you're on your own, to being a partner on your health journey. So if you go to Lilly Direct now, you buy your Lilly drug, not just Mounjaro or Zepbound, any drug, and then you get Thrive coaching on these 5 behaviors for free. Now, what's in it for them? What's in it for them is that they improve health outcomes, they improve their relationship with the consumer, and they also improve adherence, because adherence is a huge problem for pharma. You know, it's about 50% of people who drop out. So I feel this is part of the transformation. And then bringing AI. We launched an AI behavior change company that Lilly is an investor in. And the advantage of AI is that you can use the AI power of hyper-personalization to target nudges and recommendations depending on what your preferences are, how you sleep, what you're dealing with. So for me, it's really what you said, which is that it's constantly evolving. You can never go into a maintenance mode. You know, that is impossible anymore because we're living in such transformational times.
Well, it is amazing, though, that 10 years ago you figured out, you know, we weren't really talking about how much we were all sleeping and what we were consuming, our food, as, you know, as much as we are right now. So you definitely saw it. The hyper-personalization, Matt, you sort of reacted to. That's obviously key to your business. How's AI changing what you do?
Yeah, so when we think about how we're using AI, we're thinking about it both in terms of how we can implement the technology to improve the employee experience as well as the client experience. From an employee experience perspective, we're looking to augment and amplify the work of each employee. We want to make sure those things that are unique to humans, to individuals, whether that's insight or judgment or curation, sense of style and discovery, are things that we are empowering them to do with more of their time and equipping them with the tools to do it even more productively. We've had a lot of success with that and continue to be more productive. And our focus there is increasing output. We're using AI in order to supercharge our growth, not to cut our expenses in half. When it comes to the client experience, we're using AI to ensure that we're creating an unparalleled experience whereby we're improving that client journey. For us, that means how do we create this future whereby you can see yourself through that entire client experience of shopping for apparel and accessories. But at the same time, we work very hard to protect the human connection between the stylist and the client. And we believe that that humanity, that human connection is actually at the core what is our competitive differentiator. In retail, it's very hard to have personal service in today's day and age, and we provide that. Our clients and stylists create deep and enduring relationships.
People stylists, not
People,
AI
human
stylists.
Our stylists are often the first person that finds out if a client is engaged or if a client is expecting or they've got a promotion and they need to refresh their wardrobe.
You don't think AI can do that?
We have stylists that get invited to their client's wedding and
they probably can't do
AI's
that.
not getting a wedding invitation.
Not yet. Not yet. The robots are coming. what have you found, Athina, in the experimentation of AI, and whether it's a tool for productivity or, as Matt says, growth?
Both.
Both.
Yeah. I mean, we are very clear it has to drive both top-line performance and bottom-line performance. Top-line performance is definitely in the areas of consumer engagement, commercial execution, driving much more personalized placement of the product on the shelf, and also with direct-to-consumer models, and very soon agentic commerce as well. In the areas of productivity, it is driving operational excellence, how we manage the factories much more efficiently, how we manage the warehouses, all the logistics. I mean, this is a big cost for a manufacturing company. Half of the P&L is trapped there, and especially in the middle part of the P&L. So if you were to drive with AI much more productivity and efficiency and effectiveness of your employees, manage downtime, better service levels, better routing of the fleet, massive unlock of productivity. And on top of that, there is obviously the element of employee experience. Employees that we see, because we have a huge front line, as you know very well from PepsiCo, are extremely happy that many of the tasks are now managed by the agents.
They're not threatened by it. They
not threatened at all. I mean, if you are an HR business partner, why would you want to write a paper about your kid's school absence, et cetera, et cetera? The AI can do that. I mean, they can connect to the school directly. They can give you the forms. You can automate a lot of the Monday tasks that people don't want to do. So massive productivity and efficiency for the company.
Arianna, I think it's important because, there's a lot of negativity around AI in the general public, but whenever I talk to business leaders like this, they talk about the promise and the opportunity and the enhancements and the empowering that it does of people.
Well, you're absolutely right. There's both. You have an incredible optimism about all the ways, as Athina said, it can augment productivity. But also, we need to realize that the majority of people right now, according to every poll, are very anxious around AI. And that means that we just need to bring them along. It doesn't mean that you're going to stop AI, but you cannot ignore the human factor. You talked about humanity is going to become more and more important. So one of the things we work with, all the companies we work with, is improving the resilience of employees. People think of AI training as just being about, we're going to rain all these AI tools on you, and you're going to become digitally fluent on AI. But if you are scared about your job, if you're anxious about your children's jobs, it's very hard to learn, and it's very hard to adapt to the changes. So, for example, I know, Athina, you have a digital academy. That digital academy needs to also teach resilience. The other problem with resilience, it's not equally distributed. People on this panel probably tend to be more resilient. We faced a lot of challenges. Athina and I are Greek immigrant women. How many panels have you been to with two Greek immigrant women, both born in Athens, both with accents? I used to think I was always underrepresented. Now I feel I'm overrepresented. So my point is that we had to deal with a lot. Not everybody had. So we need to take that into account and bring humanity along, whether it's our employees or anywhere in the world. And it can do. I mean, in May, we're actually doing a big event at Walmart with Donna Morris, who is the CHRO of Walmart, and Daniel Denker, whom they brought in to run everything around AI, to bring these two functions together, to excite people, but also acknowledge their concerns.
How is it going to change, Matt, do you think, the consumer experience? I mean, you talked a little bit about what you're doing on that front, but just in general, what is shopping going to look like in 10 years?
Well, first, I'll build on what you just shared. I do think consumers have some anxiety around AI in the customer experience. It's both some concerns around privacy and how you're using their information in order to build those experiences. And then also just is this something that's truly valuable or beneficial for me? We do a lot of client testing, a lot of surveys, and what we find is that when you appropriately share how the information will be used and what the benefit to them from a client perspective is, they embrace it, and they get really excited about it. So that's a real focus for us, is how do we bring our clients along on the journey? And then for us, where we see the vision going is a truly ultra-personalized experience whereby we move beyond what is accepted as personalization today, that is really just segmented experiences, to truly one-to-one individual experiences. No two people will have the same interaction with Stitch Fix. They will see themselves through that entire client journey, through that entire client experience, unique to them, and see their likeness throughout the process.
How do you think about the future of agentic commerce, since you mentioned it as well?
I would say massive opportunity for actually the consumer to take control. It's consumers right now are hostages of the retail ecosystem and the consumer goods ecosystem, because pretty much you offer them what you believe they want on the shelf, maybe on digital commerce. Now imagine a future where you actually type, I want this experience for this need, and assuming you control your data, then you can actually get a very tailored experience and value proposition for you. So for me, first of all, it's about consumer empowerment. It will also truly challenge what is the role of the retail and consumer ecosystem in the future, where you need this kind of ecosystem to blend very differently comparing to what it is right now. I mean, you can imagine a very different Walmart in the future, a very different PepsiCo in the future, because it's not going to be enough for me to offer a product. I need to offer an experience around hydration. I need to offer an experience around nutrition. So besides me offering a G0, I need to offer the science around why this is important for you, why it helps your sleeping patterns, why it helps you as an athlete or a junior athlete, how it helps you in your coaching. So this is the future of agentic and the promise for consumers. I believe it's going to revolutionize the way consumers engage with AI, the same way they use AI now for much more their day-to-day life and their search. This is how they're going to buy. So the companies that invest in that upfront are the companies that will win.
It should make us all healthier, right? I mean,
yes. Well, also, I mean, you see, like Pepsi spent $2 billion to buy Poppy, which was a healthy, probiotic-based soda brand. That, to me, is looking at the future. And that also is looking at augmenting your market. Maybe your more traditional consumers want the same products they're getting, but you don't want to just think of this market. You need to think of who are the other consumers you can bring in. How can you expand your footprint? The same way, you've launched the Naked series, with fewer dyes and artificial ingredients. This is a process, it's happening. So part of transformation is embracing it in a way that makes sense for the business. And we see that across demographics. And it's an impact that has to be taken into account.
But also, if we become more productive, maybe we won't have to work as much, and we can all sleep more and enjoy life more, right?
Well, that's actually
is that a fantasy?
No, this is actually a very good point, which is that
Elon Musk said like no work in the future.
No, we talk about giving
money.
people back time, giving people back time, helping people work less, doing more. But we also need to help people learn what to do with this new time. For me, that's like a huge crisis ahead of us, because if you gave the majority of people now more time, you know what they would do? They would go on TikTok. They would go on Instagram.
That's not part of your health plan, I guess.
It's not exactly a healthy way to live. So I'm a big believer that if we're going to win this AI race, we need to invest in humans. We can't just invest in machines. Right now, the machines are getting better and better, and the humans are getting more and more anxious and worried. So if we can invest in humans, invest them invest in them in every way, in their health, in their resilience, in what they can do with their time that is productive, but also fun. You know, that's really the challenge ahead of us.
Matt, so what does that mean to you? What if, I mean, a young man or woman wants to come in out of college, work at Stitch Fix? Like, what skills do you need for, you know, the person, the employee of the future to do all that so that you can invest in humans?
Well, I think just one quick thing. The first most important skill is being a lifelong learner, because we don't know.
That's what I was going to say.
I knew that. AI told me. That's what Matt is going to say. That is really the key. And also building your own inner strength and wisdom so that you can deal with whatever challenges come your way. Matt, what are you going to say?
Well, I
took the words right out of your mouth.
Yeah, no, I had a chance recently to go back to my alma mater and speak, and that was obviously on the top of mind for a lot of the students. And what are the characteristics that you're looking for when hiring in this age of AI? And the answer to me was simple. It's the same 5 things I've always looked for. The first, I call it intellectual curiosity, an entrepreneurial spirit, strong communication skills, probably my favorite is grit, and then passion for the work that you do. And that doesn't change given wherever technology or innovation is at any given time. Those are the traits that are going to make someone successful wherever they enter the job market. The other thing that I'll say is the well-being of employees is so important. I couldn't agree more. The manner that we're focused on it is how do we ensure that our employees have passion for the work that they do? How do our employees connect to the mission of the company? How do our employees make sure that they're finding joy within their work? And when you do that, you're going to have a highly engaged and highly satisfied workforce. And there's nothing wrong with focusing on wellness. That's the smart thing to do. And it ultimately can lead to even greater productivity within the workforce.
And I'll do the final one to you, Athina, which is what should the future leader, what skills should a future leader have to lead an organization like this into such a transformative period?
Agility. It's leaders need to understand that the days that we're running the company in a very linear way, same way for years and years, are long gone. The world is changing so fast that the leader needs to be agile, fast-pacing, capture the trends, capture the signals, and adapt very quickly, and adapt his leadership very quickly to be able then to capture the demand and translate that demand to a reality to drive their businesses.
And 8 hours a night of sleep, right? Unless you have a genetic defect.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. It's not a genetic defect.
Oh, sorry.
It's a genetic mutation, and not everybody needs 8 hours. Actually, it's between
but leaders,
7
you were
and
saying
9.
it's good.
I know. For example, Athina needs 7. I need 8. I don't know what you need, but we're going to work on it.
I need cortisol shots, you told me. I think we've learned a lot. So thank you very much, all of you, for the candid conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jimmy, welcome. In 2024, we crowned you the most watched person in the world and put you on the cover of Time. This year, you appear on the Time 100 for the 2nd time. Congratulations, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's nice to see you all.
Your growing company was recently valued at $5 billion. Not bad for something that started with you making videos about Minecraft. Will Beast Industries go public?
Will Beast Industries go public? I mean, right now, I'm mostly focused on making the content, and this whole year I've been really obsessed with how can we tell better stories and stuff like that. And so honestly, I can go grab my C-suite and stuff like that. I mean, if it makes sense in the future, of course.
But it could make sense.
Yeah, of course.
You mentioned your C-suite. Will the company be profitable this year?
I don't know. I was doing a financial deep dive. I would have pulled up all the P&Ls before I came up here. I haven't done a meeting in a little bit.
Hollywood is falling apart. Your business is clearly not. Is there an entertainment company out there that you look to and they say, well, you say, well, they've accomplished this thing that I want to accomplish?
That's a good question. Is there an entertainment company that's accomplished something that
Or any company?
Yeah. I mean, what we do is, very different than, almost any company out there, because it's like one video where, spending 100 hours in the pyramids and showing people what it's like inside the pyramids, and the next, we're trying to make the world's largest water balloon and pop it with the slow-mo camera. And so it's very hard to comp it, because part of why we are the largest YouTube channel is we really push to do things you can't find anywhere else, right? Like, the second something's been done before, it's a lot less interesting. And so we try to find things that, don't really exist on the internet. And so because of that, by nature, almost everything we're doing is new, original, different. And so, no, it's kind of hard to comp it. I mean, my big thing, personally, is I've just been obsessed recently over telling great stories. And I grew up watching basically only YouTube, and I didn't really watch movies or anything growing up. And the last year, I've been trying to just get caught up on culture and just Google every Christopher Nolan movie and watch them all. And you
have a favorite?
I love The Dark Knight, so I finally got around to watching it 10 years later, or whatever. But so I've been more obsessed with culture and that kind of stuff. But there's things you can learn from every company, and especially anyone who makes entertainment. There's always little nuggets. But in terms of one singular business, no, because we're so weird at what we do.
I think the comparison I often see is Disney. A company that has IP and theme parks and different products. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I guess that can make sense. It's just we're doing it in a completely different way, which is through social media as opposed to linear, old school, television and stuff.
The difference between Disney and Beast Industries is that you're both Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse, right? You play both roles?
Yeah, I guess, because I founded the company, but I'm also the main character, so yeah, that makes sense.
What happens to the company if something happens to you?
What happens to, that's why we spend a lot on security, so. That one, I'm not up to date on the P&L, but that line item I am. I'm like, wow, that was $150,000. Like, that seems like a lot.
Well, you're doing things like burying yourself in snow.
Yeah, well, not only that, he's talking about a video I was telling him about backstage where I just got back from the Arctic. So I spent 7 days living in the Arctic, and so we had to dig 10 feet under snow, and we built a big house under snow and trapped heat in there. It was a really cool video. I'm excited for it, and the visuals of living in snow is pretty cool. But even worse than that, I also buried myself alive for a week. So
True.
I got in a coffin and literally, 15 feet underground, got in a coffin, covered it up, and then, there's a tube for oxygen down there. But obviously everything we do, we have safety experts pre-vet it. I don't want to die, so I don't put myself in a position where I can. But the coffin one, for example, the months leading up to it, I had a coffin in my garage, and I'd literally some nights sleep in the coffin for a couple hours to get used to being in a coffin and treat it like an actual stunt, And someone else called David Blaine, who's a magician, had buried himself alive as well. So a lot of consulting with him, and just a lot of practice and a lot of consultants.
The company's growing so fast. There's a lot of attention right now on your company culture.
Yeah.
Are there things you'd like to change?
Yeah, that's always something that people talk about, because I started this business when I was 11, so obviously I didn't even know what that word meant back then. And so it's obviously evolved over the lifetime of the company, but a couple of years ago, especially now we're at 750 employees, I brought in more experienced people because, shocker, as a person who studied YouTube videos and studied content isn't, maybe the best to set a culture of a company at this scale. And so the new C-suite and stuff that I brought in 24 months ago, it's been amazing to have people who have actually worked and ran and built large teams, point out things where I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's why I hired you.
You once said you had to take TikTok off your phone because you found it too addictive.
Yeah.
Is YouTube any different?
That sounds like something I would say. It's
I promise you did.
Yeah, it's currently on my phone, so I guess that didn't last too long. No, my YouTube feed personally is a bunch of educational videos and stuff. So if I were to open it up, the first video would probably be something like, here's how they built the Eiffel Tower, or is more knowledgeable, things like that. So I don't find that the time I spend on YouTube is regrettable watch time. I feel like I usually enjoy the knowledge I derive from it.
Do you think that there's, as I'm sure you know, a big movement to keep kids off of these platforms?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good idea?
Honestly, I think there are probably people way more qualified to answer that. I mean, I haven't studied data in depth to know the development or not. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the content you're consuming. So like, you know, there are plenty of educational-based channels that, you know, could distill complex topics down into a bite-sized formats where you could learn it. And so if they're consuming content like that, no, I mean, it sounds like it'd be awesome for them. Or like there's a really large channel on YouTube called Kurz or Not that takes like space topics and makes really beautiful animations around them. I love watching the channel, and you know, I know more about black holes than I should, and I didn't learn anything about black holes in school. So it's, I mean, it all depends what you're watching, the parameters there. So it's hard to like give that a blanket answer, you know?
I hate to ask this, but since you're turning 28 next month,
getting old.
Do you worry about losing your audience as you grow up?
That's an interesting question. Do I worry about losing my audience as I grow up? No, I mean, part of it is also my audience is growing up with me, so I guess that helps. But I feel pretty tapped in and understand what's going on. So as of right now, I mean, maybe when I'm 45, maybe. Or
I feel like that's 45.
Yeah, I don't know, in the 40s or something. If I start getting gray hair, they might start clowning on me. But I hope I have at least another decade or two. So.
Feeling quite old right now.
But for now, I think we're fine. Yeah.
What is the one video you're most proud of?
Ooh, the one video I'm most proud of. I think one thing that I like doing videos on, so I can I mean, it's kind of sad that there are, you know, some people in, you know, in this country that just can't see, and like we're not helping them. And like we did this one video where we helped 1,000 people who, you know, had cataracts, and we had to give them cataract surgery because they literally couldn't see. So essentially helping 1,000 blind people see again, a lot of which were in America. And you know, those videos are very sad, but it's nice to be able to do it because I can shine a light on, like, it's kind of crazy. Like this person lost their job because they lost their eyesight, and it's sometimes like a $2,000 surgery would allow them to go be productive members of society again. So there's no reason why we don't step in and help them. And like, it's kind of crazy that a YouTuber has to do it. And so being able to tell that story and show that like, this is crazy, you know. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's a particular video, but usually we've done quite a few videos where we've helped people with like healthcare. And I think it's kind of silly. So I like doing those so I can just shine a light on how silly it is, you know.
How often do videos totally fall apart?
Oh gosh, how often do videos totally fall apart? I mean, due to the nature of how everything hasn't been done before, every video at some point or another falls apart.
And what do you do to?
Well, that's where, you know, you train your team to think from first principles. You train them to obviously go, okay, well, how can we solve this? Like a video we just filmed, I needed a Lamborghini made of cake. And
obviously.
You know, yeah, because I thought it'd be funny if we put 5 Lamborghinis out there, and then the contestants that have to stand in a line, you know, in front of one, and if you're in the line of the cake one, you're eliminated. And then we have a hydraulic press squish the cake one, and so so it's 4 real Lamborghinis, 1 made of cake, and you know, the first thing they go is, we can't make a Lamborghini of cake, and then you just go, you can do anything, it's just what's the cost and how do you do it, right? Technically, if you really wanted to, you could blow up the moon, it just might cost $10 trillion and a bazillion nukes, but it's like, until you know the cost and you know how, you can't really say it's impossible,
right?
To
be clear, you don't plan on blowing up the moon?
As of right now, no, I don't. The moon is safe. But I like using that analogy because then when you distill it down to, well, there's no fundamental reason why you can't make a Lamborghini out of cake and it look like cake. So until you know the cost and you know actually how difficult it is, don't tell me. And so it's like a video will go from, it's screwed, it can't happen, to, oh, actually, it wasn't that bad. We finally did the research and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Or, okay, well, if it costs $500,000 to make out of cake, well, what if just the side they see is made out of cake or whatever, and then you just like actually problem solves through. So a lot of it is just helping people see things from a different angle, or, you know, people just help them understand that, like, you know, it's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, someone else would have already done it, and therefore it wouldn't be original.
On that note, what's the next business you're building that's going to surprise people?
The next business, well, the big thing I've been focused on is our chocolate company. So it might not be the next one, but you know, we sell chocolate, and a lot of people don't realize that there's over 1 million kids in illegal child labor on cacao farms. So we actually pay all our farmers a living income reference price, audit, remediate child labor on the farms, and you use fair trade certified beans. And so, thank you. It's called Feastables if you're ever hungry and want a snack. But that's been my big thing that I'm focused on. Obviously, we have ambitions outside of that, and that's what my C-suite's been focused a lot on. And so they could probably give you more in-depth answers. But I've just been trying to solve how can we tell that story and help people understand, what it's trying to accomplish, so they can, hopefully. I'm never going to buy 100% of the world's cacao, so I'm not going to be able to solve all the child labor issues, but hopefully we can cause a catalyst that makes other chocolate companies switch their supply chains.
You recently acquired a teen banking app. You've talked about your own struggles with financing.
Yeah.
What are you doing getting into financial services for teens?
So it's a financial services. So we bought an app called Step, and I hope to, figure out how we can just educate people on, it's so crazy that people don't know how to build a credit score, people don't know about investing and things like that, especially if you just look at the average youth. And so hopefully we can, make educational content that gives them the financial literacy I, didn't have growing up. And so I wish I could go more in depth. We're still laying it all out, but that would be the goal, is just to give people actual knowledge on how to be financially independent and help, build wealth and stuff that, ideally would be taught in school, but it's not. So, help them out.
You think a lot about helping people. Yep. Would you ever run for public office?
Maybe in the future, but right
That's
now, honestly, yes. I wouldn't say it's out of the question, but right now I'm just focused on how do I tell a story that makes people feel something, because we upload quite a bit. And so I was just like, I don't even have the brain power to think of anything else. So, but if I live to be 100, that's another 73 years. So I wouldn't say anything's out of the question, but,
On improving storytelling, the Oscars are coming to YouTube in 2029.
Yes.
What advice would you give YouTube CEO Neil Mohan to make the show better?
Oh gosh.
And should he let you produce it?
Well, I feel like the make it better, honestly, I'd have to go watch the last 10 Oscars and blah, 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 and actually think on it. Off the top of my head, I don't know. It seems relatively fine. So I thought the last one, I didn't see anyone complaining online. I thought people liked the last Oscars. So I thought he did a good job hosting. I think it was fine.
You have a wedding coming up. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
Don't applaud yet. Your mom, Sue, is here today. You said you're borrowing money from her to pay for it? Is she annoyed?
We could go ask her, but yeah, I said that on a podcast because, shocker, we reinvest everything into the content, and I don't like to take money out of the business. I like to just, put it all back into growing and stuff like that. So, I did say that, and she did it, so clearly she doesn't mind. It probably helps that I also spoiled her with a ton of money, so she could do it. So it's a little bit of a inverse back. Whoops, Mom, I actually need a little bit of, I need a loan for the wedding.
Will we be able to watch the wedding on the main channel?
Oh, heck. I was gonna say heck no. I guess things could change, but as of right now, no. My entire life's on camera, and so as of right now, I don't think this should be. It's like the only thing that my fans don't have access to, because I'm basically filming 28 days a month, and they know everything about me. So that's why I was about to say where we picked the venue, but that'd be a bad idea, because I don't know if this is live stream or something. So
it is.
Okay. Well, hello to whoever's watching the live stream. But yeah, I'm not even getting married. This is all a facade. There is no wedding. Nothing's happening.
Well, congratulations, Jimmy. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all of our speakers today. What an incredible day.
Yes. Thanks for having me.